just introduce myself?
Sure.
Linda, I actually emailed it. I've worked with Linda before, and I've worked with her about 36 years. But I also I was involved in things. But I write, like I wrote for the New York Times Post-Star for years. And, I wanted to get involved again, so I emailed Linda and said, if you need anything, help with her website, press releases, any type of way that I can get back in that regard. I was talking about it, I don't realize it. She said, sure, great, and so that's why, so I do that. See where everything is, but I can offer that if, you know, at some point needs communication to go out.
The website would use a complete rewrite.
Yeah, and I, you know, that's something that I'd be happy to work to help.
You mean the town site?
Oh, I think so. I mean, we've got pages like the history page that goes as far as 1957 and stops there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We got, you know, a lot of other stuff on there, and somebody with a better professional writing background probably could make it a lot nicer.
So yeah.
Linda says she's downstairs locked up.
You can get something up and running, you know.
Sure. So that's what I mean, I'd love to help with that.
As long as everybody else is good with it, I would
yeah.
say, you know, have a look and see what you
Yeah,
can do.
she said, I don't think what's for you, tell me what you think, and I've just looked at it briefly, I've gone, you know, already, so I'm to start, because this is a new, fairly new for the last couple of years. But I think it's great. So if we can brand the Wendell County, that means, and, yeah, there's a lot going on.
Did we officially call this order?
We haven't yet.
Okay.
Call it water.
Call to order.
What's happening?
In my defense, I was downstairs 5 minutes ago. Not really.
So that means you were
Only 10 minutes late,
11 minutes late.
but I sent you a text. So
Okay.
I got one from Jensen, she's coming in.
okay.
But anyway,
Sorry.
Anyway, here we
it's
go.
all good.
Apologize.
I'm not one to talk about anybody gambling. So we just called to order. And,
I just told everybody why I was here, since you weren't here then.
They have a little idea why you're here. We've already discussed, you know, so.
So as far as approval, yes. Thank you. Approval of the minutes. So I'd like to just go over some of the things that we talked about wanting to get from the marketing study. Did we ever get, because Ted, you were supposed to ask Todd for a complete package of everything. Did that ever happen or no?
By everything, you mean
Like
this
everything
committee
Howard
would
is
be-
supposed to be, like instead of getting all the bits and like again, I got one of these things, implementation, you know, I got that, and then last time we were all going over the packets that we had, we realized we weren't all reading the same thing, we didn't all have everything, so we had suggested in the last meeting that we all get a hard pack copy of everything Howard is supposed to have given to us at this point, so we were all working on the same thing. And that before we started moving on to implementation, we were gonna finish up the
phase 4 was
And that's really what came up this week.
which is where we are right now. Phase 4 development proposals to achieve opportunity. You know, his only other deliverable up to this point has been the SWOT analysis that he did, he presented to the selectmen. That's his only, I believe I'm correct in that, right?
Yep.
That's his only other deliverable.
Yep. Right. So basically, the paragraph in the minutes sometimes was it became evident that many members of the committee had not been given a complete copy of the implementation document, which I guess is this one here, and that Mr. Hall stated, Mr. Barr, Mr. Reddish, yes, the committee should agree that there was an opportunity before tackling implementation, and then they went on to discuss more, and
You were referring, I think, to this, Ira, which is the preliminary material, the power July 3, 6, something like that.
7, 6, 7,
And
yeah.
on the back of it, he had this.
Okay.
Right, but he didn't have it in the handouts that he gave us. It was in the PDF file that he sent later. And that's what I sent the next day to everybody, right? Yes. So it's this section here, which he has now amplified in this.
Okay. So that's the only thing that we were missing?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you got this twice.
Well,
Yes.
I just got that from Todd the other day.
yeah, Todd sent it out
Yeah.
Monday, I think it was. Friday or whatever.
And so that, and then this other thing that he gave to us, this here, is everything we need.
Yes.
These two things is the whole thing. right?
Yeah.
What two things are we doing?
This and this.
This was the preliminary
Okay.
draft,
The draft.
So this is not the final.
and this is the
That's the
preliminary.
implementation right there.
This is the draft, this is the
No, this is just implementation.
But it really supersedes.
it supersedes this. He's taken everything in here and messed it up and put more words on it. And
Okay.
so
He's
this-
kind of taken it from concept to more of a how-to. In some cases.
so
All right. Okay.
Like, we just pick up on that. We talked about this one thing. It has nothing to do with the Chesapeake report. But one time we had talked about people on the Economic Development Committee need a package of materials that is necessary for us to understand the environment we're working in, like the comprehensive plan, like a town zoning map, like anything else we need to know that should have been given to us to the committee at some point in time to say, these are the documents you need to function.
Let me send that out.
Well, he wasn't on it. He probably did.
And I was.
Yeah.
I mean, somewhere along the line I got that.
I mean, it should be standard procedure. When a new member comes on the committee, there should be a package that when you come on for the first meeting, you get it.
Yep. That would be good.
It's just a comment. I mean, I've been on those boards, and that's what you get when you come on board. Otherwise, you're in the dark.
I think most of that info is on the website, but obviously it would prevent ever anybody who was new on the committee from having to go on the site and figure out.
So, that being said, I think everybody's already reviewed the minutes, and can we still approve them without Jen being here, or?
Absolutely. I think Jen was present at the last meeting.
Yeah,
she was.
We were quorum, so it's fine, we can approve.
Are you talking about, I was talking about just the little meeting, I mean the last one we had. These minutes, the July 9th.
Yeah, as long as there's a quorum,
Okay.
you're all set to approve.
So, I would move to approve these minutes.
Second it.
All in favor? So.
I'll turn it back on if it gets warm in here, but it'll be easier to hear.
Do we have Ira's magic mic on this thing now?
No.
That was great.
Could you actually hear? I thought it was staticky or
It
something.
was
you
staticky,
said.
but the conversation was much more
It-
discernible.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
really?
was much easier to understand than any of the other meetings.
Well, I think maybe I have a bad connection, so I gotta get a couple of better cords for it, but I think the mic itself will be fine, and I'll bring them in next time.
Well, if you want to just show me, Ira, what I need for a plug-in, I can go buy a mic if it's going to work that much better, if the town can use it
Okay.
for all of our
Meeting
meetings.
for
So
all.
if you want to just let me know,
Sure.
send me an email what you have, just so I know what needs to plug in and
Okay.
the type of mic you would recommend,
Yep.
and we'll go ahead and do that.
Okay. Will do.
We are feeling awful tonight.
I'm sorry, the residents of the town, I won't buy it, the residents of the town will.
So are we gonna skip number 2 until Jen gets here?
Well, I was proposing we not start the discussion that.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
And I think we should wait to do number 2 after we've done number 1.
Well, we did do approval minutes, we
Mhm.
just did it.
No, but the tagline, she's,
Oh, you mean Roman
I mean,
numeral 2?
yeah, Roman
Yeah,
numeral.
yeah, wait on the whole thing, I think.
Right, okay. So should we just move on to progress reports for now, and then we can circle back to,
Yes.
all right,
good.
so, you want to update us on
Um,
Family Farm Day?
As far as Family Farm Day goes, as far as the EDC involvement, we all decided that we weren't gonna be doing something ourselves, other than I think it would be wise for us to have a booth there, where we have the study done. It would be great for us to have somebody there to set up booth and talk to people. They're moving right along. They have a few great things. Unfortunately, the whole thing that I wanted to do with the mud run fell through because my guys that were doing it, it's a bad week for them and they just can't pull it off. So I feel bad, but they want to do it some other time for the Arundel Historical Society. So that's a good thing. We're thinking of doing it at a later date. We just need to set that date. So we're still planning on doing it. It's just not going to be at the same time as the Arundel Heritage Day.
Damn, I was counting on that.
When is
You weren't even going to be here.
I know.
When is that?
Arundel Heritage Day is September 14th. It's the Arundel Historical Society is putting it on. And they are having different, what do I call it?
Exhibition.
Thank you.
Exhibits.
Exhibits.
Not exhibitions.
Yeah, different
If we're gonna keep
exhibits
things locked, we just open that door.
that would be relevant to the Arundel Heritage,
I'm already there.
agriculture, farming.
Is that the same as Family Farm Day?
Yes,
Same thing?
they,
Okay.
you know what, when we started calling it Family Farm Day, they hadn't named it yet, so they ended up calling it Arundel Heritage Day. So it's no longer Family Farm Day,
Alright.
but anyway, it's the Arundel Historical Society, and looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. Jen, Junis is involved, she's getting the kids with, doing different events, and there's gonna be all kinds of.
Did we do it a couple of years ago?
We did do it a couple of years ago. It's going to be moved over to the corner of North Chapel Road and Route 111, where the two houses are, so that people can see where the actual, they just want to bring awareness to the community center that they want to build there, basically. So
So as far as the EDC is concerned, no, it's only staffing, getting a booth and staffing and doing it there.
I would like to see the EDC there with the booth. I'm going to be involved. I know Sally's going to be involved. She's
I can have a bus there,
Yeah.
and the bus set up with all sorts of information.
Right.
It happens to coincide with our members too.
see,
So I've got to have myself.
I know that's what we're finding. The gentleman who's going to help me with mud run, he's got something else going on there. The other guy that I could rely on to cover for him says.
I've got to
that's
fill
not
the
how it
bus, so that.
Right. Jen and I talked about doing stuff to help out, but unfortunately, as far as the EDC goes, we decided a long time ago that we had voted not to do it other than to
Okay.
individually help.
We'll get David Peck on the EDC before September 14th. Because he'll be at that, I would imagine. Wasn't there some discussion
Have you heard anything from Dan? Send him a letter.
Mentioned,
Send him a letter. We
Dana.
haven't heard anything back.
I haven't heard anything back from Dana, no.
Hasn't responded.
then
No.
perhaps not.
I'm going to be there already, but I will be helping out. I'm volunteering, so if there's anybody else that would like to volunteer to talk to people about what's going on with this, I think that's what we need, is we need people to be discussing this stuff, so I don't know if anybody else is available. I know the other meetings.
I have it on my calendar to be there, and I'll be glad to man and do it for a while.
does it tie in at all with the final event of our contract, which is the presentation to the town?
Well, my thing is, it does all tie in, because there's such a big part, this whole thing there's a lot of agricultural items in it, and I think that whole Arundel Heritage thing and agriculture all goes.
No, but I meant this, the final phase of this, which is the presentation to the town.
I don't know.
Phase
We-
6.
we don't have a date for that.
Yeah, I haven't heard yet when the return trip will be. So I would assume that we would know by now if he would be here by September 14th, but I can email to find out.
Well, I mean, the final thing of what he's supposed to do for this, under his contract, was to help us make a presentation to the
Yeah.
townspeople and.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep, absolutely.
And we don't know when that is yet.
Not yet.
But I just wondered if it tied it all in with the date of the farm day. That's my only point.
Right.
If we get out all our big dog and pony show for farm day and Howard hasn't done his thing,
Exactly.
it might not be the best way to do it.
I don't think we need to put on a big dog pony show for Farm Day. We just need to be there, and if anybody wants to ask us questions about what's going on, we can answer.
I think that's.
I just think it's a good opportunity for us to hand out information, that's all. To get more people involved, try to collect email addresses.
Maybe at
try
that
to
point
get-
we'll have a date.
Get some whoopie pies?
We'll get Jen on it.
Well, maybe at that point we'll have a date for the actual presentation. We can say, look, this is where
That
we're at
would be
right
nice.
now. Please come out on this day to hear the whole plan.
That's a good thing. Do some,
That's a great idea.
A
Yeah.
PR thing.
do
is
some
what it is.
teaser stuff, some
Yeah.
PR stuff, that's.
I can show you the first page of the plan,
Yeah.
but you have to come out next month. to see the whole
Exactly.
thing.
Usually quickly Here it is.
See? Okay.
Don't.
That's it. Ready? Look.
You see that number? Oh, you didn't see it, too bad. You saw it, you win.
Alright. But that's all I got for around the park. They got some great stuff planned, I hope we can start. I mean, they have a meeting tomorrow night, no, excuse me, Thursday night. If anybody's interested in going,
I'm meeting out this week.
I'm moving out,
Oh, yeah.
I'm
That's
done.
my meeting tonight.
Anyway. Alright, that's all I got.
Business vacancy information. Somebody-
That was John, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, that's just a case of, we've talked in the past about the new suggestion to get a letter out to the local real estate agents, see if we can develop a list of available property, buildings, or vacant land, or land with buildings for sale, groups. We've talked about it a couple of times, never done anything, so I emailed everybody a sample letter,
Yep.
probably, and put together a little list of real estate agents from Arundel and the surrounding Arundel. So wide open to any additions to a list of real estate agents, and wide open if anybody would like to review the letter or suggestions about it.
You saw my comment, I thought it was a great letter.
I thought it was good too.
Yeah.
My only question and comment back to you was, how do we keep it going after the first letter goes out and responses or phone calls? And it's got to be kept current, because other, property gets sold, stuff comes on. So we need some way to make sure that someone,
We do, and I think
maybe it's staff, could just,
We could do it through the website, and if we can get those realtors to sign up for the website, then we could send out reminders monthly, bi-weekly, whatever it is, and say, are there any new listings in the town we'd like to know, so they can get back to us, and we can get that up there.
I think they want to do that because it
Absolutely.
might help them sell something.
I
Absolutely.
would think so, yeah.
That's free advertising.
Exactly.
this is a plus, so that's a great idea. So it goes out automatically,
Yep.
it can push them. Refresh your information by such and such a date.
So the question is then, how do we get the letter out to the realtors? So
Well, if we approve the letter, then just have that sent to the list.
yeah, who takes care of actually now?
I will.
Well, if we email it out.
We'll do it here.
Oh, okay.
We can email it, and then also, we can, send the initial one. I'm sure we could probably get email addresses from websites or whatever for the initial, but I think it'd be nicer to formally, inform them with John's letter, and then let them know if you could go to our website, give them the instructions, so that we have that initial push and they have something hard in their hand.
The only problem is how would they access this link in a paper letter?
Paper letter, they wouldn't be able to without typing it in, which is why the email
Yep.
letter might be better.
Actually,
You
might
can
be
do belts
better.
and suspenders, you can do both.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do both. And I think the email addresses, if they're not on that list of, I can print out a new list with email addresses.
great.
And I'll get that to you.
Okay, and then I can email them directly with the link to the website and ask them to sign up so that we can
Yep.
make the communication a lot
I'll get that
easier.
over to you tomorrow.
Vitally hot information you must have for your business to succeed.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or
only.
you could send out this letter physically and then say, email me for the link, and just put your email address in there, and then if they're interested, they can email you and say, I'm interested, I have a couple commercial properties, can you send me the link? And then you just reply back with the link,
I think
right?
maybe Sam had the best suggestion, let's send it out by email, and just send a copy of the letter out by
Yeah.
regular mail, just to the phone.
Yep.
If anybody misses it on email, they might get it, doesn't matter if you get it twice.
So, I would like to make a motion to approve this letter to be sent out to the realtors on this list.
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Super duper. And zip code update.
I wish I had an update. I emailed the regional director in Portland about a week ago, expected to hear back, and I haven't heard anything back. I'm going to make a series of phone calls to get some answers by the next meeting, and I apologize for not having that for today's meeting. I expected to do it yesterday, and it turned into a kind of a zoo of a day at Town Hall. So I will, for the next meeting, unless I get absolutely no contact from the Postal Service, I will have an update for you. But we have heard absolutely nothing yet, no reply to the email, and so I'll have to start calling or go to the office and try to find the woman to speak to.
So, maybe we could just move on to new business and then do,
The door was locked.
I unlocked it when I let you in.
Yeah, unless you yank it.
Yeah, let me double check, but it should be. It stays unlocked.
I must have pulled it.
I only texted you twice. So I was done.
well, I thought when you said, where are you guys, I'm locked out, I thought you meant you were locked out of the school. That's why I said, we're at the town hall, I don't know where you are. And then you're like, I'm downstairs, locked out. Ew. Sorry about
Before you
that.
get the door, before you get in, you couldn't get in, so I turned it on or something.
I was down there one night last winter, throwing snowballs at his window.
If anybody pulls it shut, to be sure that it's shut, it locks it.
Yeah.
All right, so can we just move on to new
Let's
business?
move on.
then? I would assume this next one would be that of the TIF strategy report from staff.
How far do you want to go with this? Austin?
I would go so far as to the information that we have without the dollar figures at this point.
2 years ago, actually almost 3 years ago, we put a project for seasonal 259 seasonal cottages out on one, basically on that with the I district.
Whereabouts in what?
Well, we're
Southern
Troy
Maine.
Parker's Southern Maine landscaping, which it's still the same. Troy Parker's landscaping.
Just north of Fritz's Tire, Sam.
Okay.
Where that
It's on
like
the,
abandoned
west side of the
looking
road.
building is.
There's like a red ranch
Yeah.
that's sitting there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also a metal building behind it. So. Well, there's 259 units out there. We approved that back in 2010, and then of course with the crash.
There's no actual units back there.
No,
You're saying there's an approval.
There's a proposal to develop.
Yes.
It's an approval. No, it's not a proposal. They have an approval to proceed.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the money, everything else.
Basically, at this particular time, no, he could not proceed because the market was not conducive. And you remember we talked about finances.
Yeah.
The issue, what do we use for finances?
Yeah, that's a chair right there.
So, the issue has been basically, how can we adjust to the changing market? And the issue is not really the adjustment to the changing market. The issue has been essentially a question of site development costs, basically, no form of problem, costs versus revenues, and investors to accept some of the risks that are involved. They have approached the town to essentially to help alleviate and jumpstart some of those cost problems by essentially creating a TIF district. They would like the town to create a TIF district in which basically revenues that they would generate would be plowed back into the project, essentially. It's part of the revenue would be plowed back into the project. The other part would go to the town for our development district activities that we have to do in the TIF program. This would, right now, we're talking between 20 and 30-year TIF district on that particular land. Most TIF districts are between 20 and 30, and the ones I've done, 10 and 15. They're going out farther now. The advantage to TIFs, of course, are that there is some drainage standpoint. There is shelter. The money that is generated, or the revenues that is generated by, are sheltered from both the state revenue sharing formula, and also from the county tax formula. So essentially, you can get economic development, you can get increased revenues from your valuation without impacting your state revenue sharing dollar flows. The problem is a little bit irregular because of RSU 21. We do have a little bit of
It's plowed back in.
it's plowed back in because basically Kennebunk is maximizing TIFs. And in terms of how the apportionments are going, it basically takes that into account. So we're going to be subject to the same caveats that
So it's on the formula for sharing capital costs, the new school development programs, whatever it's funded for, TIFs are counted back in rather than being excluded from that funding. That was approved last November.
It's part of the agreement. It's cost sharing. But the simple fact is that what would happen is that these monies would be, basically it's the tax monies would be used by the developer to offset some of the extraordinary incentive on the cost of the development. The issue is, what is the benefit for the town? Well, the benefit for the town is it's an either or situation.
So what?
Either or. This
Can I ask
project
you a
will not
question?
proceed.
We
Well, what
back
you've
up.
already said.
Yeah, you go ahead.
So we would get the money from them first, from like money that they were making on it before we're investing anything in this project from the town standpoint, right?
We don't invest anything into this project from the standpoint of there's no tax dollars, that we're not bonding anything, we're not using any revenues that we get aside from the revenues they generate on their side.
Okay.
No other town revenues are going to be used. No bonds, no revenue sharing from the state, nothing. It's only going to be tax
So money
dollars that
that we
they
would-
generate from their project alone.
So tax dollars meaning money that the town would make from their project that would normally go towards other things in the town budget
Correct.
would be allocated back to them to help continued site development.
Yes.
Okay. So we're not actually fronting them any money to get their project going. We're not giving them any money that they haven't already basically paid to us as far as tax revenues or whatever.
No, and ironically, they still will pay the base cost of the land as it is right now. They still pay that.
So they're gonna buy the land, your corporation will buy the land for a greenhouse,
Whatever.
whatever, it's just, which then, they buy the land, they're now subject to the taxing from
Yes.
the state and they're on that land, right?
Correct.
And as they build things on it, it becomes value more, so they build,
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna build, but they're building something, right?
Seasonal projects.
Yeah, but are they gonna sell them, rent them?
Sell
They
them.
sell them. This is a sale only. And what the value difference between now and what they develop is called captured value. Base value, which is the cost of the land, the value of the land, as it is appraised right now, is what the state costs. They're always going to receive that revenue from that. It's just the captured value is the money that's over and above the base value.
So in 10 years, when it's completed, they will have structures in it,
Yes.
and roads and all that stuff, and we'll have another value. And they're gonna sell the units to you and you and you and me, right? So at some point then they'll be left with whatever the infrastructure is, and if there's a common meeting hall or I don't know,
The usual.
some regular stuff. And that's then will have a higher value.
Yes.
So- And that differential between the land value and that value is then subject to higher, lower taxes?
Well, what they
No, it does.
No, what they do is they still pay taxes. They'll pay their taxes, but what we do is we create an account for the development so that they'll pay the taxes and then a portion of that money goes back to the developer to be put right into the project.
So what's
Oh,
the
a
percentage
portion
of
of
that?
So what-
Right now, we're negotiating
Yeah.
all
That's what I'm
Oh,
having
okay.
trouble with. what if the project is finished?
Yes.
And the money's going back, it basically is going to their pockets, it's not going for new, it may go for repairs or maintenance.
No, it'll pretty much phase out. They're looking at a 7-year build out, and it will phase out. The majority of the funds that they'll be receiving will phase out after year 7. So it wouldn't be as high of an impact to us. But there is still portions that would go back to them as a tax break, but that not a tax break. That money has to go back into this development. They can't pocket any of the cash.
But it becomes a credit.
That's exactly what we're doing, is a credit enhancement agreement with them.
Okay, so what could, my Irish grandmother will say, what could go wrong here for the town?
That's pretty much where we're up front going to do a lot of legwork to eliminate. It's kind of a different situation than with Biddeford Crossing or with the J.J. Nissen factory, where when they go away, there's absolutely nothing left.
Right.
What we'll be dealing with here is if, in fact, they do decide after phase 3 to stop developing, there would be no more money going back, and all of those tax revenues of all, let's say there were 150 units built, we would begin to get the full value of that money back. The TIF would be null and void.
And we would have lost the 6 years or whatever that,
Well,
until their walkaway time.
technically we would lose it, but to look at it another way is they would be building that infrastructure to make that property more valuable, so that the roads will be there, the units will be there, we'll have the tax revenues. But yes, if they go away and they
So
what's there
this
is
could see,
there.
we could end up like that development off Old Alfred Road, I can't remember the name of it. The one that runs back for
the one that's waiting.
And there's 3 houses.
Yeah. That we're going to work up on the front end of in the credit enhancement agreement. The attorneys will draft language in favor of the town of Arundel to try to prevent exactly that from happening. Because if they were to pick up and leave, in some situations, it does turn into an ugly kind of mess for some
Because the
towns.
market's, market reversed once, they could do it again.
Exactly. And so that'll be, yes.
Has anyone mentioned an age group or population that they intend to sell it to?
No, it's no age group.
It's restricted. It's open.
It's 6-month seasonal cottages, so there'll be no. It's specified that way. There'll be no children who will go into the school system from these 259 units, assuming full build out. But I asked Mr. Paulini that last week, and he said no, they're not planning on doing an age restricted community.
And they cannot modify that because that's a condition of their approval. Can't.
Yeah, but 6 months.
No?
How do you prevent them from
From winterizing.
how do you prevent them from?
It's
It abrogates the
Yeah,
conditions of
there's
their,
lots
it
of other-
abrogates the conditions of their approval, and they won't lose it.
But I own the building.
but you're
I can winterize it.
in your
Yeah,
condominium association. It's part of the agreement that in your deed restriction that you are limited from May to October.
Vacated in
That
October.
Eric can explain.
There's a lot of these around. They're like condos. Okay, so you don't, when you buy into it and you buy it, you don't own the land, you own the building. The land remains, part of the whole unit. So a lot of them, they shut the water off to everybody for the whole thing. You cut it off, there's no water. That's it, you're done. April 15th it comes on, October 15th it goes off. You have no water. If you want to try to live there throughout the winter with if you want to bring in buckets and flush your toilet or whatever,
I hear you. I get it.
I suppose you could do it, but you're not living there year round.
But in the meantime, we get 6 years of discount, a full year discount, no taxes generated, the revenue that could happen.
Well, it depends on the percentage that they
So
sell.
if he doesn't get
Oh,
the
it's a
tip,
gradual.
Yeah.
It's a
will that
gradual.
kill the project?
It sounds like it will, but typically that's the approach that developers use. So they're making it appear that the upfront costs, which are about $5 million of upfront costs to fix Route 1 and provide turning lanes per DOT requirements, to get the initial phase of the road built and to build the community center, which is quite involved, a few $1 million. That they're really, they're not nickel and diming this thing. It's pretty amazing that the project that they're proposing. But
And the number of units in that first phase are very limited. It's only 13 units.
yeah,
So the revenue is not going to offset the expenditures.
Can I just make a statement here? Today, my work is they are getting numbers for it's been brought to my attention that the city of Port area is having 40% of its revenue from business area. So just a little, news to think about. It's a wonderful opportunity. It adds income to the area theoretically. However, it doesn't support your town.
I would beg to differ on that. They're going to offer, if the town of Kennebunkport does not support a trolley stop at that location, they're going to purchase their own trolleys, and they're pushing the market price point isn't what a lot of these projects are doing. It's much more reasonable. I mean, I can't afford a seasonal place, but it's much more reasonably priced, and they're gearing it towards, or at least initially as they tell us, to get the people out of the property and into the community. So
I tried to get Mr. Nappy down here tonight so that he was, and that's what was really good for that. The percentage that was dropped off. And also,
Well, are you asking, I think I'm hearing you say two different numbers. Is this the kind of property, is this the kind of development you want to encourage?
It sounds.
Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking that question. It's right on your doorstep. I feel that we're very vulnerable. I feel that we're an opportunity that looks like everything is great. Everything they're selling you is a great idea. However, as a business owner myself, and a surroundings of, an area in Kennebunkport that is thrived for many more years than a row has, it's hurt the area. No.
This committee though has nothing to say about this. This is proceeding ahead. It's been through the zoning committee. It's been approved.
the development itself has been approved by the planning board. That was years ago,
But
yes.
not the tip.
But the TIF has not been approved. The TIF is only preliminary discussion, and the TIF is required to be taken to a town meeting vote for the town to approve.
And does this economic development committee have any say, I guess?
I would say at some point it would be wise to have Joe and his team come in and speak to the EDC to vet the questions, to address the issues, so that,
I would hope so.
yeah, absolutely. They completely intend to do a top-notch public relations campaign and to inform people of the benefit of what they're doing and why it's in the best interest of the
I
town.
know we have to move on. Have they done this before?
Yes.
Where?
Massachusetts mostly is where they've done it.
Similar things, similar pricing.
Similar price points, similar accommodations, proximity to, attractions, things like that.
And has anybody from the town gone and visited those areas? And
That I have
put
not.
feet on the ground to see what it looks
Not
like?
at this point, no, but that
Talk
might
to
be,
other
that'd be a good idea.
businesses and get an idea of what the impact has been?
Not at this point.
Well, there's a whole lot of these things in like wells and stuff.
Yeah.
You can go down there and talk to them about what they're like. There's a whole bunch of, like, they've done where they have, like, on the front end, they have, like, trailer parks and stuff like that, and then on the back end, they've done, like, seasonal cottages. So they started out as, like, either condos or condotels or whatever, and now they've done seasonal cottages in the back. And again, I'll reiterate my point to it when Ted brought it up before. They're not financeable right now, pretty much by any banks. So, they're extremely tough to get mortgages on them, and I get calls all the time from people down
Do
in
you
Wells.
really?
And there's like only a handful of people around here that, well, actually I know one that there was actually one seasonal cottages that, well,
So my question
not
is,
just seasonal cottages though. The problem with the ones in Wells is that they're actually condo-tels, where they do check in and check out front. And if they're not doing that there, which I don't know if their intention is to make them, a lot of them rental units or only whatever.
Only ownership.
Okay. So that's,
but owner occupied or?
It's okay, it's tough
We
to sell
can
in Miles,
mortgage
right?
it.
It's oceanfront.
Right.
I mean, how
well,
nice.
that's different though. If they're not a condo-tel where they're not doing check-in and check-out on site, seasonal cottages are financed.
But the point is, I mean, this is Route 1, which is not exactly, Malibu.
I think some of the ones in Wells are right on Route 1.
Yeah, they're on Route 1. They're not on the water. They're like,
They're probably damn near spot with the ocean. It's
about
not
the
getting on one cabin.
Yeah, it's the one that-
In fact, the latest one was actually out by the technical school.
And they're about an eighth of the cost of a waterfront. So, it's,
yeah.
they're not high price point. I mean, you're not
What do you mean
So what
by
are you
high
going to
price
sell
point?
for?
quarter of
230 or 250.
250 to 230 to 250.
That's nothing for a summer.
For what? Yeah, for what, 800 square foot?
Between, what, 850 and 1350?
That's agents.
Over 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
They might be, but the market is.
So,
The market's down.
I think we should, I would suggest that the EDC may want to hear this gentleman.
Oh, absolutely.
If he's looking for our stamp for approval on this, which I assume he is.
Can I just ask one more question on the, so if the TIFs got approved,
Yep.
again, it's pretty low risk for us in the sense that we're only gonna be putting money back in that we're already making, right? So we're not, like, even if we approve the TIF and they completely fail, we're not really gonna lose any of our money that we wouldn't have already gotten from them, correct?
Exactly. If the land stays the way it is, it's valued at $770,000, and we'll collect that
Let's
tax
go get
money
that thing.
indefinitely until somebody builds it.
well, we'll only lose if these places do not sell and they come to the town with a desperation and they sell them as not seasonal, but
Rental.
year round, or they have to rent them because,
You get halfway
They're gonna
through
be-
with a
yeah,
crater,
and-
the market goes, I mean,
and
things
then
happen.
all of a sudden, we have the burden on the school system, the whole bit.
That's a condition of approval, though. I mean, that is, the
10 years from
zoning.
now, that won't change.
That's
I
what
don't
you gotta be
know.
ready for.
That's what you gotta be ready for
Oh,
in
no,
10
I mean,
years.
I've
If
thought
that
all of
happens,
these
the town
things
is
through.
doing that to themselves.
Yeah.
The town is in complete control of that situation. If the town decides that they want to have Section 8 housing out there, fine, terrific. The town can make that decision, but right now, these guys are legally obligated and all of the covenants within the homeowners association and condominium documents prohibited.
Would your
So
point is-
you have to redo everything. You have to get a new approval, you have to file a new subdivision, and you have to do all of that. And you can do that with anything.
And with this point is, 3 years from now, when they're halfway, they get the roads halfway done, they get 25 buildings up, and they're financing traders, they're not selling, whatever happens, they come to the town and say, oh my God, this is going to pieces, we need help, you gotta do something. Right?
And then you say, no, it's still worth at least $800,000, so keep paying the taxes and go away, right?
Well, except that the corporation will bankrupt, it will be nothing, so.
Well, and then we sell it and we take their money from the sale of it or whatever, I mean, or whoever.
If they do tax part property.
I'm not sure if it's a good idea or not, but it'll be helpful to hear from the developer.
Yeah. I'm just saying, it seems fairly low risk as far as these things go.
But they're
I
the
don't
intent,
agree.
they're
I'm not
the
saying whether I
intangibles.
agree with the overall concept of it or anything like that, I'm just saying, I mean, right now, we're only getting taxes on vacant land at 700 and some thousand, which is like, I mean,
And that's
which
what
is
we're gonna
not very
still
much.
get for the next 30 years, is where it's.
That's not the issue. The issue is what happens if it
No.
gets, if the development fails, and a lot of these developments fail.
If they successfully upgrade it and it becomes worth 20 million, we're gonna get taxes on 20 million, and then we'll give them a portion of whatever they're paying on it back, but not all of it.
Oh, no.
No, it'd be only a percentage of whatever we were making.
Correct.
So,
Depends on what's negotiated.
right,
Right.
potentially we could make a lot more money than
But
what we're
the
making.
concern is not the black or white of it now, and it's a great success. The question, our question should be, what happens in the middle? If it doesn't fit, if it doesn't succeed, what risk does the town bear if something happens between that all built, all great, and where we are right now?
Has the
I
town
would say the
done,
risk is the
Development
same as
scale.
with any development.
have you done any other checks?
It's true with any, of course it is, but that's
It's true with any
So I
development.
think-
Islong's development out there, we have 50 lots out there, which we have a lot of infrastructure in there that is intended to be town infrastructure, is sitting there idle right now. But there's no cost to the town.
Right, I was gonna
There's
say,
no impact
essentially,
to
the
town.
worst case scenario is they stop paying the taxes on the 700,000 that's accessible now, and we lose that, what, $4,000 a year that we're getting for it or
But it would
whatever?
also foreclose on the property.
Well, we still get
Take
the actually
possession
get
of
more
it.
out of his song right now because it's an improved development.
Yeah.
We actually get more out of this project because it's an improved development right now.
I think that as this deal is still being negotiated, we have a horrendous amount of stuff to cover tonight. Let it go with that,
I agree.
move along.
Sounds good.
We're gonna be-
Was there anything else you wanted to add to?
No, it's just, I think one thing that we should always look at, and I understand what Jen's saying, but right now, we have a limited number of people who come into this town to stay, and who spend dollars in the area. This provides a whole new market group that we don't have in this.
And my do the study.
Well, I think your suggestion is a good one, John. Could we table this for the time being and move on?
I think we should. I think we've got a long way to go with the time. What's the next item? Do we need a motion on that?
I move we table that.
Well, I think we had the discussion that we needed to at this point. It's just a
Yeah, it was
report
just
from
a
the town, and so we've got the report, and we can just move on, right? All right. So committee procedures, discussion with action. I believe this was something we wanted to bring up, Tim?
Actually, it's been, I think a lot of it's been covered in Howard's report. Pleased to see that he talks about the need for communication and coordination between the committees. The last page of his report.
Okay.
What we do with his recommendations is up to us, but he talks about representation at comp plan and zoning development meetings and inter-committee, whether it's a steering committee or something, but it's an item that we had recognized needed to be addressed. He has picked up on it as well. And I don't propose to do anything more with it right now, but it's with us and we should do something about it.
Mostly you're talking about the communication between the different committees within the town.
The planning, with the redo of the comp plan, the planning and zoning committee and this committee are like this. We are all tied together. We need to have a common set of assumptions and guidelines as to how we're each progressing. And if we all start, each committee starts going in its own direction and starts doing initiatives contrary to the agenda and the intent of the other committees, then we're in trouble.
We had the first meeting of the comp plan committee about a week ago, and they are very interested in getting some input from this committee at the next meeting, which is the 3rd of September. I told them last week that in about another month we should be in a lot better position than we were in last week to give them kind of a feel for what we were doing.
Are you on the committee?
Yes.
Great. Good. So we have our liaison on the committee. Good.
So hopefully, I think we'll have a lot better idea where we stand on a lot of stuff after tonight's session.
Are you chairing? You chairing it?
No.
Who's chairing?
Down at the table.
Incidentally, the meeting might be planning what's been pushed back.
Oh, it has.
Get done, pushed back in September.
Did you?
Is it a combined meeting of comp plan and planning?
Yeah.
Should EDC be there?
Probably wouldn't hurt.
That's my point.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be an afterthought. It
No.
should be-
Well, the comp plan committee is still getting their feet wet. They just received the document at the last meeting, so they're going to go over that. They're going to come into the next meeting with any questions, any clarifications that they're looking for before we move forward with meeting with the planning board. So they need to grasp what it is that they're looking at and what it is that they're dealing with before they start meeting with other committees to communicate back and forth. Of course, all of the meetings are public. Anybody's welcome to come, but that is part of the process that will be happening is joint meetings, so that hopefully everybody can be on the same page.
Well, what is the intention then of the EDC to put it up to the meeting group? When Howard speaks of, quote, EDC should be represented at meetings and involved in any process that involves the update of the comprehensive plan and pre-finalization of new development zoning regulations. That's his recommendation.
Yeah.
What's the intent of this group? And follow through it.
Actually, since I was part of,
The whole.
That's part of your thing.
well, it's in the report that you're
Right.
going to be discussing.
Sure. Okay. Sweet. So then should we just kind of move that to the other portion of it and continue that discussion when we get to that
Yeah.
portion of
It's fine with me.
Okay.
This is critical to address soon. We as a
I think
committee
we all agree on that.
we have to do
I
something.
think we all agree that the comp plan committee, the planning board, and the EDC all need to make sure we're on the same page. I think it's just a matter of how we do that. That is obviously important enough for discussion, right? Because I think we all agree we all need to be on the same page. I don't think there's no vote.
Well, I think it's pretty, we got John on the comprehensive planning committee, we need to get, I believe, we definitely be a member of the planning board on this committee.
Yeah, the company,
Yeah, no, we already got one on both, but now we need to
We've
get,
got our spy.
I really think it's
And we
important.
need somebody on the planning committee who sits on the planning.
That's what I'm
committee.
saying, somebody on the planning committee,
And
on
then
our
others.
board, on our committee.
I agree.
I nominate Linda for that job.
No, I wanted them to come here.
No, we don't want them to come here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that who's the new gentleman?
Oh, Jason.
Yeah.
Jason.
Nope.
No.
Jamie Lowry?
Jamie Lowry. Jamie Lowry.
I can talk to him. It's just like this committee, you know what I mean? It's nice
You can do it.
that all the committees are going to be together, but also realizing as I do that you're all volunteers, so I can't tell you, hey, Sally, I need you to be at the planning board meeting on Thursday night. So hopefully we'll get to the point where there'll be enough interest in the whole process that there'll be, individuals at cross meetings so that everything is covered. But I can speak to Jamie and see if it's something he would be interested in
And
doing.
this really is an interim sort of thing while we're going through this process, and she's not gonna last more than a year, probably, tops.
And just see one.
There's,
Okay.
All right, so are you gonna give us a little Southern Maine Center for the Performing Arts thing?
We all heard it. I think it's Todd. You were not there.
I was not,
You
but-
listened to the tape or not? Probably not.
yeah.
Well, actually, Jim
But
was-
Bob Dominic came and spoke, and
Jen
for
wasn't.
everybody who was here,
Jen wasn't
I
there.
wasn't there, no.
you weren't there. Well,
But I'm not sitting with them.
he did an excellent job, I thought, in presenting the Southern Maine Center for Visual and Performing Arts. Here we go. We've got a mouthful. The concept, this document here, which I've passed around 2 meetings ago. I don't know what the reaction of the rest of the group was, but I was impressed, and I think it's something that has great viability and tremendous impact on our town if it succeeds.
That was great. Sounds like a wonderful idea, and hopefully they can pull it off, and if it gets anywhere close to getting some money together by the time we actually vote on it, I can't see anybody saying no to it if he's supposed to pull in the money that he's looking for, I mean, but
It appears now, and I heard this from Jack Reitz, who's on the facilities committee, that there's a lot of redoing estimates for both Milton Day, for the high school and Kennybrook High School. For instance, they're going to drop the idea of a separate kitchen. And some other things to cut costs by 10%, but it's probably going to push the whole thing off until January
At the earliest.
at the earliest, which is not good news necessarily.
well, actually, it might be good news for him to get more people.
For him it is.
Right.
But for the townspeople, low turnout generally is not a good thing.
Oh, you mean because it'll be in the winter, and so there'll be less people coming out? Really? Less people come out?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
In the
Much
winter
less.
time? Really?
They come out to vote for the senators.
Yeah. The governor and.
School budgets.
And it's compounded in Port because a lot of people aren't around.
Yep.
A lot of residents are gone for this winter. So,
Well, maybe it'll only
So
be
it's-
the people that care, and then we'll actually get a positive.
What usually happens is the ones that are violently against it, are the ones that marshal their forces.
Trying to think positive.
So they do it. Through the RSU wars.
But I mean,
But anyway, Bob did a great job.
Yeah, he did a great presentation.
I think so.
Well, I didn't know anything about it before, and that was a helpful meeting.
Do you see it? How do you see it playing into?
Well, I think
Oh, do you
he
want
was
to-
very, I think we should hold it actually, but, he was very confident that there was a strong possibility of getting the upfront gifts and things. That's the case. Right?
Absolutely. comments about it, or?
Have you seen this?
Anybody else? No? All right, well, like you said, we got a lot to move on, so does anybody want to give us a little rundown on the Car Harbor thing? Because I don't know a whole lot about that.
John was there.
Yeah, Car Harbor guy, Al, yeah. He's basically, he's facing his proposal for a Rumble operation that he's seen out in Minneapolis. And evidently someone has tried to get this set up in Brunswick, but the scheme up there, I gather, was a lot bigger proposal than what he's proposing for a Rumble, and it kind of sounds like it fell apart because of financing difficulties. He was talking about a 14-acre facility up there right now. He's trying to get something along going about a 5-acre facility.
What does he do?
Oh, I'm sorry. What he does is builds storage units for antique cars. And his intent is to sell them like condo units. There's a lot of similarities really
So
between.
they heated.
Yes. Oh yeah.
The clubhouse is in the concept. We're not sure of it.
The clubhouse is not in concept at present. The way he described it, clubhouse had to go to get the costs down to try to make the financing reasonable. I wasn't really clear if the clubhouse thing might be brought in at a later date, but it certainly would not be in the initial phase.
And where would it be?
Right now, we're just kind of, it was a preliminary idea to know what kind of space they need, what kind of amenities they need, and so we're going to work to try to find a parcel that will complement the project that he wants to do in order to make it kind of a, a one hand washes the other kind of situation. So
His main thrust is the people who think Jay Leno in his car, okay? We're not talking the Model Ts here. We're talking high-end cars, high-end people flying in from California to tour the main coast when they get their Lamborghini or their Bentley or whatever the hell they have, their MG, whatever the model cars are, their antique cars are, here, stored, ready to go. Flying in is a cool thing because apparently car addicts and plane addicts bring the same stuff, right?
He's very interested in setting the place up near an airport because apparently there is a lot of correlation between antique car bumps and airplane bumps. So he is seriously interested in the airport.
So in his mind, people fly in, they go get their car, and then they go do what they're going to do in Maine?
Not necessarily. I think a lot of the activity he's looking for in his facility is people building these cars, modifying them, working on them. I don't think it's a deal where a guy is going to fly in and pick up a 1929 antique car and then go touring up to Bar Harbor. It looks like this is more of a destination type of thing. He has different size units for different number of cars. Most of them have a loft upstairs where you can set up a little lounge or comfortable area.
You can't sleep there or stay there. It's not.
No, it's not designed to stay there, but.
They will.
No.
he said other successful projects that are similar to this, he's typically people who are looking to live within a half an hour of where their vehicle is stored. Is why one of the reasons it didn't take off as well in the other location, or at least that's what I got from him. Would you agree, John?
I didn't get that so much as financing was the problem up in Brunswick.
He needs a couple of angels to come in and kick it off. He
Exactly.
needs commitments for 2 or 3 or 5 of these things as a seed. Without that, if Jay Leno buys one, then everybody will buy one. But he needs a Jay Leno.
If he puts up one barn, which I think will probably include something on the order of about 14 units, he's looking at about $1.25 million to get this thing started. He said he does need water for a sprinkler system, which if we were to look on the north end of Route 1 somewhere near the airport, I believe it could supply. He's looking for three-phase electricity, because some of these guys who are building cars do run welders, and some of these units will be equipped with lifts. He does not need sewer. So all in all, it looked like the type of thing that would be a pretty good fit for us, you know, if he can get the financing to get it going. The financing really is the key. Yeah.
It's going to be, there are a lot of spin-off opportunities for local labor and local help. People come in and work on the car and provide specialized services. There's enough of these cars, then you have people move here to provide those services.
I think that's a possibility, and I think also it could tie in very nicely with these seasonal cottages that we were just talking about. And it might make the cottages more attractive if you have somebody who is an antique buff who wants to spend the summer in Maine, where he can go across the street and work on his car or whatever. So it certainly sounded interesting. I would recommend that we get the guy in and let him give his presentation to the whole committee. You know, he can tell you about it a lot more effectively than I can.
He also drives one of the sweetest little MGTDs you've ever seen in your life.
Looks like he stole the Mini logo.
It doesn't it?
Mini Cooper?
Yeah, I thought the same thing when I saw that. I'm like,
Might be in a little violation there. I don't know, it's an interesting idea. Liability, I have no idea. I mean, I can't think of one person I know that would do it, even though I know a lot of people that love cars and have a lot of cars. I just don't know of anyone that would want to necessarily put them in a remote location. So most of the people I know that can afford these kinds of cars own their own storage facility that they have a nice garage for their cars already. You know?
In Illinois, I suppose their mother-in-law lives in Colorado.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know them, but that doesn't mean they're not out.
Because they've done it in Minnesota someplace, right?
They've obviously done it in Minnesota. He's obviously talked to these people in Minnesota. And he did say when he was talking to them that his intent was to try to pre-sell these units to provide the financing to do it. He said, they told me right up front, you're not going to be able to pre-sell these units. It just doesn't work that way. He said, it's the kind of thing you've got to get them built, have an open house, the kind of thing where people sort of see it and get a grasp for
What did they
concept
look
it is.
at selling this for?
36 grand roughly?
Yeah, but you could probably buy two or three.
Well,
You would.
No, I'm just trying,
No, you
I'm
can
just
have more
trying,
than
because
one
I know
car.
that people are always searching for, I mean, I go to this thing with my antique car every year, you know what I mean? Like, where to put the damn thing, you know? I have to beg my father, can I have a piece of your garage?
so,
You know,
right. So the unit ranges in size from a 2-car, 550.
So I know, and
Well, he ought to
it's
come in
not
and-
uncommon for people looking for a space, but I don't know.
I don't think it was 35,000 per unit number. I think the units were various sizes, and we really ought to get him in and talk to him, you know, and if pricing is that critical to us, we should have him.
Well, no, we're just trying
Can
to
I
figure out
just
something
read
like
this
that will
little-
fit in a market like ours, that's all.
Yeah.
I'll just read this
You can
little.
get an early bird price, that's what he's looking for.
I'm good.
Yeah, on his flyer, it says each unit ranges in size from a 2-car, 550 square foot space to a 6-car unit, 1,350 square foot, with an option for a loft area to relax or different cars. Condominium unit pricing begins at $36,000.
So, interesting concept and a lot of spin-offs. You said your idea about the tie-in with the seasonal cottages. The airport thing would be cool too, because that ties right in with this.
Oh, yeah.
It's an interesting idea.
I didn't get into airport problems with him because I didn't want to discourage him. But obviously, if the airport thing needs a lot of attention.
Good.
You also that, is there anything else you want to just
No,
throw that out there? Was there any other new business before we get to the bulk of our meeting here with the presentation?
No, other than, I mean, I wanted to near late, but everybody met Donna, obviously. And I had asked Donna take a look at the website, because we talked about maybe writing some
You
stuff
talked about
out of
that.
it. So you've already talked about that.
You've already got her signed up on it.
You already got it done.
Well, I haven't-
See what happens when you're late?
So check.
Check.
No, I was like, you're probably Gerber was like, who are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it's not that they didn't
No,
know.
No,
They
I'm
got
not
the
terribly
email, I told them,
I'm not
but,
terribly shy,
perfect, well, yeah, that
yeah,
was,
I'll take a look. I glanced at the website, to go through with the editor's eye and see what we
Yeah.
can do. Well,
and,
that's inspiring, you know.
yeah. And there were some things as we go through this that I think maybe might be helpful with.
Yeah.
Some of the problems with the website, besides the written word, design layout on the different pages. And that is a bit of a problem that I don't know how to solve, because it needs somebody with more expertise than I've got to locate pictures where you want them,
Yeah.
in relation to the text.
You've done that sort of, have you done website
I've done
design?
some.
Website design?
Yeah.
Look at
Working
the-
on a master's degree.
Sorry?
I'm working on a master's degree right now. Yeah, I have a bachelor's degree in journalism, but so the writing part of it is very intuitive to me. It's kind of writing, but still like that. But I want to have the updated skills to do web design. I mean, I can look at it and kind of, does it scare me? I can kind of, see what I can do with it.
Well, take a look at that too, because,
Yeah.
like I
And
said,
I
I was on a lot of pages where I was just trying to get something up and running, and I got a couple of three pictures, but I couldn't get the pictures to locate where I wanted them to.
It
It
depends
had
on
to
who the server
stuff.
is, like who's our,
Gov office is who,
those are always fun.
what's that?
Government offices are always fun too. They're always so artistic.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the sort of thing, though, it's something that may,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a stretch. We may want to think about engaging a website designer, I mean, somebody who does it
Oh, yeah,
full
definitely.
time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But I
This is not something we want to learn on our nickels.
well, I'm not.
So if we need to find, if you decide you need to hire someone, bring somebody in, know about it. Tons of money over there.
Yeah, the town's got tons of money.
I was just gonna bill them
All right. Shall we move right on to,
Facilitate away.
My understanding was that I was facilitating your discussion and reaction to this. And so I didn't want to take any chances that people didn't have copies. I have a copy of it. But just to set the stage, the only reason for having a facilitated discussion, rather than just sitting here discussing otherwise, is to move toward common understanding of one another's viewpoints very quickly, and to assure that everyone has a chance to weigh in and ask questions, and to reach consensus. And so, to stay on topic, typically a facilitator will establish a set of ground rules that they propose and ask that everyone buy into that. The ground rules for the participants I would propose would be that you wait until you're recognized before you speak. Only one person speaks at a time. No side conversations going on, and all questions are pointed to the topic. And that the ground rules for a facilitator, who in this case, are that I have a responsibility to call on everyone to participate, and that I am committed to keeping the participants on topic, and that I remain in an objective capacity unless all the participants want me as the facilitator. So my first question is, does that sound like something that you're all okay with?
yes.
And so I put together with the room in mind, and the idea, Donna, I didn't realize you were going to be here. But these other folks had an opportunity to really dig into this. And so they have each a package. It's Todd's. And are you, as a commission, are you okay with town staff participating?
Yes.
Yeah, I think town staff should participate.
Is that okay with everybody?
That's fine.
And I think I may have doubled up in somebody's package on some of these Post-it notes, so no cheating, please. Knowing that we were going to be in a very small space, I kind of dispensed with the idea of clipboards.
Can I keep this one?
Yeah. But what I would like to propose is that you take 10 minutes, assuming you've all looked at this, and think about, with Post-it notes that you all have, and they should be identical, which I pulled from Howard's documents, and think in terms of prioritizing those. Everything but the ones with the orange mark on the bottom of the top. So starting with, and I left off the careful and coordinated use of limited resources and the topic of fiscal resources. Those are kind of givens. You know, you're obviously, as a community, going to try to be careful and coordinate the use of resources, and there are going to be some fiscal strategies. But starting with, on page 4, expanding agricultural activity, we've got a Post-it note for each of those. And if it's a priority 1, you'll throw that on the priority 1 sheet. It's going to be right in the middle of the table. Priority 1 would be that you think it's a viable strategy for Arundel, that you are in favor of the strategy based on your knowledge of Arundel residents, and that you think the community should get busy on it right away. And a priority 2 would be the same thing, except maybe you just don't think that's the first thing you want to look at. And a priority 3. So the top 3 that you like, in the order that you like. So it's a viable strategy for Arundel. You are personally in favor of it based on your knowledge of the community, and you think it's something that the town should get busy on right now.
So what's the difference between priority 1 and 2?
Only that you feel more strongly about that. Okay? Priority 4 and priority 5 and 6 is the same kind of concept. I have some concerns or questions about the viability, or I'm not in favor of the strategy based on my knowledge of Arundel and its residents, or I don't think it's attainable in the short term.
And that's how strongly you feel about it.
How strongly you feel. And priority 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, I would
And
put
10.
this on the wall.
Yeah.
Get some tape. I think that'd be a lot easier.
Yeah. I have some concerns or questions about its viability, or I'm not in favor of it, or I don't think it's attainable in the short term.
The short term is what?
That was,
Maybe it's fortuitous we are moving. Wall's close.
you should have 13.
The last one should be, utilities.
So priorities 8, 9, and 10 are, you have major concerns. You're strongly not in favor. You don't think it's attainable. And let's say short term, like in 5 years.
That's issues, I don't think that's an opportunity. Packages for visitors too.
Huh?
That's an interesting point. I mean, this,
That was kind of my thing, why?
That was my-
business
yeah.
if they have issues and stuff.
Yeah, that was
What?
one thing that.
maybe,
I don't know what your question is, Linda, so.
Was this something that would have been, you don't have it as one of your stickers? So that's because
It's not really a strategy.
it's not a strategy?
It's not a strategy for bringing in business.
What's that?
it's a problem, but it's not a strategy. right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not in the arena of expanding agricultural life.
But how can you bring in new business?
Yeah, but
How that
if that's one of the things that
But,
really needs
but
to
if we
be
just fix
addressed.
that, there's nothing to run through the fixed mill. There's no opportunity.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Sam, what is that?
Oh,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
pointing to the internal,
The
Page
issue
7.
about the internal,
Okay.
and the same thing applies, I think, to the visitors packaging,
well,
right?
this is packages here.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
And I think it's a great idea.
The internal government structure that's a way of operating. It isn't the kind of business you're going on. It's just, the first step, I think, is to see what kind of businesses you're relatively excited about or relatively not excited about.
I think the way we look at it is, the car isn't running particularly well according to Howard. You gotta fix the car to drive in on any of these roads that are agro, airport. You need a fixed car to make it work, right?
Okay, and what was the thing about the orange lines again?
Leave those alone for the moment.
Okay.
They're a different sort of
Okay.
category.
And Linda, just to clarify, if there's something in one of these, agricultural, just to take one, there are a lot of elements in that opportunity. You disagree with some of them or don't feel strongly about part of it, but you think the overall concept is good?
Are we writing that on the note of what we did?
No, you just
Okay.
stick the note on whatever place you think it belongs, and I would suggest you not confer with each other so that you're
So we
Thoughts
Right,
remain.
no, right,
No,
yes,
I just
yes,
wanted to
yes.
make sure.
Okay. So priorities 1 through 10.
with 1 being love it and 10 you don't. And the only part of this I'm weighing in on is I am going to put my own 10 sticks. I'm not fighting.
Probably already done your bit, right?
See, I'm the type that if I don't understand something, it's not a priority to me.
Well, then
So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not the best for
I
the
have some
town, but I
concerns or
don't get it.
questions. I have some concerns or questions.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks for the concerns.
All right. Because I don't. I'm not knowledgeable of it.
so there's 10 in here?
There's,
Then the three with this.
No, could I put more on
How would you
one?
know? On my
than
initials or on the
I
back?
was supposed to put one on each, right? I put it like,
Yes.
put more than one on one,
I know.
right? I had no choice
That's the
but to do that,
facilitator.
right?
Yours, the ideal would be one.
One on each, okay, so
But it's
I had
very-
no choice but to put some down there.
there is
very
13
difficult.
of them
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I had
The
to.
last three.
though. No, there's
Got it.
13 plus the last 3.
Then you're the one I doubled up on some of the categories.
So you can vote twice.
Oh, okay, you did, okay.
Sally,
That's a nice big pen you got there,
one thing I didn't see in here was anything about a funding mechanism for startup businesses. One of the things that was proposed and now it's right up was either a mutual fund or loosely organized.
And I think it falls into
That's
different kind of categories.
Well, that's under ag biz.
But setting up those funding mechanisms is something the town's gonna have to do that really for every.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, let me be pretty clear. He's talking about all this stuff, which I know something about, in ag biz. Okay, right here. I don't think this is, I think his concept is really flawed. Therefore, I would put ag biz as like 7.
Well, I'm pulling the funding piece out separately, just because it was kind of a question of what do you like for the town, what do you not like.
Okay, but I would have thought that in a similar way that the things like the funding mechanism for startup businesses, I would have thought that that type of rationale would also apply to things like utilities and transportation from the airport. Because with utilities, the airport, and funding, those are items which apply to any, or can have an effect on any business that you bring in.
Yeah, that's true. It's absolutely true. And his report's a little hard to work with in that respect.
Sure is.
Because it's combining some apples and oranges.
The utilities he's
It's like,
talking about.
you
is
shut
something
down,
put
no.
on in the same thing.
Exactly,
Which
yeah.
is
Yeah,
entirely
yeah.
different animal than
Yeah.
than power lines.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I realize
That's
it's all
why-
about gas.
That's why I gave you all a copy of it too, to go back to what he had underlined.
So ag biz is out of it, which you're saying it is now. If the funding mechanism you included in ag biz is taken out of ag biz, which I think what you just said.
Well, I think it's beside the point. Do you like access or do you not?
What was this? He's got to go through this. That's why it's in this section.
Yeah, but I
If
would
you
look at
don't
that
like
funding
it,
mechanism
it's-
for any
I
source.
love ag
other
biz, I
things,
hate the funding.
not just
That's
ag
why I'm
biz.
taking the funding off the table.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Can I write on the funding? Is it 1, 2, 3, or what that is?
For yourself, yeah.
Just fire us.
I kept them generic just so that we weren't all writing things down, being kind of influenced by them.
Good idea.
Yeah, I'm just writing down so I can refer back to work.
that is not part of the study.
We're not stringing ourselves with just the study, no.
That's like the car thing.
Right, okay,
Or the-
right.
Yeah.
Maybe Kate's.
Right.
Kate's fell out of the sky.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just seems like,
Figure something out.
What is that?
how much is that able to do?
They're moving along now.
Are they now?
It's a lot.
Just hope they will enforce them.
They painted it,
Yeah.
got siding on it.
It's a good idea, Jim. I don't think they have the signs.
I got two in one.
Yeah, I think.
Don't be messing us up, Sam, by putting
You're
two
right.
on one.
Follow directions, Sam.
All directions. There you go.
I know.
We're gonna have to separate you two.
No, we'll be here.
Should I not put them on top?
No, it's
Sharing double
That's
The
all.
Coke?
Yes. Or with a cap
It's
or
just
without a
cards.
cap.
What's that? What are you doing with that? That's why I didn't email you a picture of it, because you made me nervous when you asked me for it.
Or maybe we can.
Why? Big.
One extra one.
I can just
So I think
That's whalers and drones.
All right, there.
that whether something is a 1 or 2 or 3 isn't so important as whether there's kind of a common thread or some common threads emerging in the 2s and 3s. And it looks like
They're all over the
the trail, ag-based tourism.
They're all there.
And I can do a count afterwards, but there seems to be a fair amount of interest in those. In the 1s, 2s, and 3s. Now, on the opposite extreme,
You finding no consistency?
now I've got to look at the middle.
You know, I think the thing is, so
Yeah.
legal, that we all come from different perspectives, so even though it might not be a priority to you, you might have plans that is a huge priority. And we might not understand the priority of why it's so significant. I mean, I think that's what I'm looking for. This was just this and
A lot of it for me just came down to viability and being realistic. I mean, that was like a lot of it.
What would get the town right now going on the right level? You know, it's something as simple as
That's not even
the
getting
community
adults.
center, or, you know what I mean, the Eastern Trail, you know.
1, 2, on the number 1, we've got business development through ag-based tourism appearing 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And let's do them one at a time. Business development through packaging only once. Public gathering space on the community hub once.
Okay, can I ask a question, is 1, 2, and 3 all the same?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Ag business or sport?
Ag businesses, no, number 2. It doesn't sound on there. Flex space is in there twice. Business development. Trail and recreation. How many do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Are you doing for
All
all
three.
1 through 3?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Business development through packaging.
The packaging is right here.
1, 2, 3, 4. Utilities. Public gatherings. Did you have any next? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Business development through ag-based. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's utilities? We've got business development through R&D. 1, 2, 3. We've got flex space and manufacturing. 2. And expanding ag activity. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 1 internship, business development through ag internships, and 1 bit of year.
Okay, so what was number 7?
Recreation.
Number,
The trail.
the leader
Yeah.
in this was the trail, the recreation. We had 7 in that group, followed by ag business at 5, public gathering space at 5, expanding agricultural activity at 4, business or R&D at 3, packaging at 4, I'm sorry. Business development via packaging is at 4. Then flex space at 2. And internships and airport at 1. And utilities too, I'm sorry.
I've got to be in movie, so I've got a 2.5 hour ride.
Read?
Yes.
What are you going up there for? Conference.
Well, no, no.
Let's get a bottle of rum.
Conference, so.
Go get a moose.
What, tomorrow?
No, I won't be getting a move yet tomorrow or Thursday.
What's the conference up there?
Being Town City Managers Association. Annually does a conference.
I'd love to.
Sounds like a lot of fun, doesn't it? I apologize. I thank you all. That's all I hear.
He's setting good land for
Sally,
sale.
thank you very, very much. I will.
So on the, I think what would be interesting is to make sure that on the other end of the spectrum, on the hate end of the spectrum, that we aren't seeing an equal number
5
that
and 5,
hate.
yeah.
So 8, 9, and 10.
So we're going to do 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah. All right, so you have public gathering.
You said it.
Okay, do you have any public gatherings? Just one of those on the hate end. Biddeford Airport. 3 on the hate end.
You call it a leader.
Lower priority. Flex space, do you know?
Yes, flex space 2.
Okay, there's 4 of those.
4.
4 business internships.
4 business development, you said, sir?
Business development
Through ag internships. 2 utilities, which means pipelines.
Here's 2 here.
Oh, 4 utilities. And 1 business development for
Stop it.
and 1 business development for
What was that?
So,
Come on, Howard,
When Sam Howells meets.
So we've got airport with
It's on my
flexes
phone.
at
You saw that ad, too.
Okay.
One minute.
So,
Documents.
I'm just gonna run through these and,
Okay.
and try to capture what I think the feeling is. The single largest area of interest is the trail. And there's nothing on the lack of significant interest to contradict that. Nobody hates
Nobody
the
hates
trail.
the trail.
How can you hate that
How can you
trail?
hate the trail?
Expanding the agricultural business, is that what that one was?
Yeah.
That had 5 in favor and nobody with a lack of interest.
As long as you took out the funding discussion
Yes,
from.
yes, yes.
Which one was that again? I'm sorry?
Expanding
I'd still like to
agricultural
see
business.
funding listed in this whole thing somehow, because I think funding is going to be important.
I agree, but it's a how you get there rather than what you're aiming for. Public gathering space had a 5. It had one person on the other end that was not
Wow.
interested in that.
Public gathering had a lot of good and one bad.
Yeah.
And how many did the expanding agricultural have on that side?
None.
No. Okay.
So the trails and expanding agricultural business within this group seem to be clearly favored. Is there anybody who, upon reflection, doesn't feel that way? And then on the what you really don't want to see or are very concerned about, the utilities, the agricultural internship, the flex space seem to be the areas of least interest and or most concern. And would somebody care to, who put ag internship down on that end, care to just volunteer what there is about it that isn't floating your boat?
Well, I think ag internship, my main hang up with it is that I think it's going to be a very, very long-term proposition before we kind of ever saw anything out of it. You know, every time we put it on a low priority, I don't think it's going to do us any good in the next 10 years.
I think we got very successful, we say we got 10 interns in the what does it do for the town?
Yeah.
Virtually nothing. So we spent a lot of time trying to make it happen.
Yes.
So even those of you who may have put it on the higher end of the scale, are you comfortable with relegating it to the lower end of the priority scale? So we'll take,
I think
in the notes, take that.
It's a great thing.
Right, that's my
just
hard
is.
thing with this whole thing. A lot of these things I really care about. However, it's more of, I look at it as far as what can generate
Yeah, because you can't do everything.
success quicker than others.
You can't do everything.
Right.
Not that I didn't like them, or opposed, but.
Who doesn't like interns?
I'm sorry, what was the third thing that was really good? You had trail, expanding agricultural business, and then
Public gathering.
public gathering.
On the, we're not wild about it, utilities, which means pipeline. Those of you who may have put that in a higher priority. Was there anybody? Yeah, there were 2 people who did. So, Sam and then Tad, if you would share with the group why you put that in a high priority.
I put it in a high priority because for me, it was a high benefit for a very low risk. If you set aside all the talk about is oil bad or is oil good and so forth, his point is correct. The pipeline has eminent domain rights, which it does, and for larger reasons, it's determined they want to come through to the seacoast, but want to go through the seacoast, and that place is the window. A, we can't stop it. B, we can get a lot of benefit out of it by being out there in front of the thing, supporting it, encouraging them, welcoming them as a hub for us, because then we can get, as Howard points out, if we had gas in here, if we had gas, a tap, there's a taps in town, it would totally change the attractiveness of this town for manufacturing, light manufacturing. So, for me, I thought it was a high benefit for us.
And Tad,
Pretty much the same thing. I mean, Minitel, which is primarily the service company that has the distribution risk, they will not come in here without some sort of investment, by public or private. They need a pressure station. But I think I would agree with Sam. It's the same reason. Gas is the energy of the future. It is the energy that we have the most of. It's going to be driving business. Most business models now are based on their energy sources on gas. And quite frankly, those communities that have that resource will be going to have the other communities. So I think it's a major component, not only for the present, but also for the future. I'd also tie in, I'm breaking the rule here, but I'm tying in other utilities with it. I didn't just limit it to that utility. I also looked at electric power, and I also looked at sewer as potentials because of constraints we have in this community. Howard didn't give that much credibility, but I think one thing that we need for many of the things that we're talking about in here are certain utilities that we currently don't enjoy.
so clearly all four of the other people in the group were on the not so happy with it. And have any of
No, I thought I put utilities, I don't want to say anybody can't count here, but I was very surprised when it only came up Pat and Sam.
Somebody
because
moved it.
I put my utilities on the high priority.
all right,
So,
then make that a three.
Can I say why I put it?
Why you put it at the other
Lack of
end?
knowledge, yeah, basically.
So are you-
Like I said, I had asked before, when you don't understand something,
Yeah.
and you don't feel like you can,
Yeah,
and that's basically.
and that's why we're
where-
having this
Yeah,
discussion.
exactly. It's not because I don't think it's a priority, it's because I don't know if I can prioritize it because of what I'm, my knowledge of what.
And after hearing from them, has that changed your mind at all?
No, I think it's a priority. I don't think it's something that I can elaborate on, basically. I don't think it's something that I can offer any,
Would you,
knowledge or.
yeah,
It's just
Would
not
you-
in my scope of.
would you be less concerned about it? Would you move it up higher based on what they said?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, when I went and put them on there,
Yeah.
I put based on what I was capable of,
Yeah. Yeah. Ira, you had your hand
Actually, Jen did first, but I did that.
Sorry, I have a question. Because when I read this, I read pipeline, and now that Sam has said that, I also know that there's a huge approach for, like those two major companies, Champagne, that are trying to refine their own. Now, would this be all,
They want to do basically residential.
We'll see if
so is this something that we would also look at as far as, say there was property in a home that would allow for this development to occur? Does that fit in this category?
Residential gas? Not really. This is a
smaller scale
distribution.
for what, for instance,
No, I know it's much smaller, I just didn't know if, because when I pipeline, I feel that the government would,
it's a private company. But it does have the right of limited domain to take money from them, obviously,
It's like a
pay market value. You can't say no, the pipeline can't come through my land, or credit your gate. You'll negotiate a price.
because I think it's my lack of understanding, is I know the pipeline is going to come through with some lot opposition. But it's stuck in the government procedure.
Well, you're talking about the pipeline in Portland and all that stuff, and
Right.
that's different. They're talking about moving tar sands to oil, which comes out of Kent, Alberta, and pipeline, it's gonna go there, but it's probably not gonna go through. Those people don't like the idea of mining tar sands for oil, because it releases too much.
But that's why I didn't go for that, I thought, because there's so much opposition against it.
But that's different.
That's a different.
That's entirely.
So are you warming up to it as well?
Yes, yeah.
Right. So,
I do want to.
yeah.
I just want, because of the, again, not really understanding all of it, really more than anything, I feel like it's not something we can necessarily control from just out of town, whether that pipeline comes through or not, which is why I put it on the low end of the priority for something, for this particular group of people to focus on, because whether we want it to come through or not, and whether, I just don't think we have a lot of control over whether we're going to get some major pipeline that we can tap into. I don't feel like we have any control over it, so I felt like it was a low priority for this
You're
group.
you're absolutely correct. But pipelines are always fighting towns, they're always fighting the NIMBYs. No, not here, not here. If we stood up and said, hey, we would really welcome you guys to come through, they may not change they wouldn't say, damn, that's what we needed, let's go. But it would certainly go into their reasoning if there are choices that
I wouldn't be opposed as a
welcome
town
us.
or as a group saying, hey, we're open to a pipeline coming through, especially if we can tap into it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't know how much time or energy we really should spend on it. That's my whole point.
I
We
agree.
already have two pipelines.
Right. But we can, it's so expensive to tap into them that it seems unrealistic. So again, those are the cons just seem
Well,
to,
and
you
that's-
know, in our control factor for me, you know, viability of actually getting somewhere on it seemed on the low end of things, which is why I put it down on the low end.
I think Tad had a very good point though, because it's such low risk, it's not gonna cost them anything, even if you don't get tapped into it, it's not like something that we're gonna invest a whole lot of money.
Right. Like, I'm not against it, I just don't know how much time we should probably
Not
be
much,
focusing on it.
not much, but it's again, it's a high benefit, low risk sort of thing.
And that's something with your knowledge, Sam, that you would help us develop.
One little thing we have.
Well, we need people.
I thought it was, well, I think it's fair to, and anyone who objects to this characterization, please say so. But I think what I'm hearing is that we've arrived, at least this evening, in a point of discussion that if we had the opportunity for a pipeline to come through, we would not jump up and oppose it.
Correct.
Yeah, we might even enthusiastically endorse it.
Embrace it, yeah.
I just think there's not much in the way of implementation goes for a utility because of that.
Okay. Then on the other end,
Completely heavy.
still on that end, the ag internship, we've discussed that. I think the four people who put it there probably did because they didn't think it was something, it was going to be a good use of our time. It's just to confirm that.
So which one?
Ag internship.
Oh, yeah.
The flex space also. Would someone who put flex space as a low priority tell us why? Who wants to do that?
I didn't really, I mean, it's not that I didn't understand what he was saying, it sounds, I guess I couldn't grasp how to go about actually getting people into that. I guess more than anything.
Jeff?
Lack of understanding probably would be the best way to describe it.
I feel that's a wonderful idea. I don't think our social environment would attract people in this type of business to come to this. Most people with flex space and manufacturing are on the younger side. They're very urban. They need to be around like culture, society, museums, nightlife. We're not, I mean, even Boston is some form of that.
I just, I mean, when you think, I mean, flex space, I mean, even at, like, we talked about commercial kitchens, sharing, you know, that's something that they don't have around here. share. I mean, that's the same type of thing, right?
Are
Whether it be
were you on the-
manufacturing or sharing of anything, right?
Were you on that end of with it? or
I
you
think
were
I was
or in the middle?
somewhere in the middle of this, I think. Can't remember.
There were only two people who were quite enthusiastic.
I think I might have been one of them, I forget if I put it in the middle or on the high somewhere, but I used to drive a truck for several years, and I made a lot of deliveries to these flex space operations, which is basically one decent sized building, divided up into a lot of small units, each one got a loading dock where they do a little bit of manufacturing, and they always seem to me to be a hell of a good way for a small company to kind of get started. If you make a goal of it, you move into a bigger place. I think it's something that could be really beneficial for this town.
I agree,
Yeah.
John, I just looked at it as a start, I looked at it as a part for all.
Well, I think Howard had a good point in his write-up when he said if you're going to go that route, your best bet is probably to try to recruit a development who could hopefully put the buildings up and then track the
Small clients.
small clients. It's not the kind of thing we probably want to do ourselves, but we might want to interview a couple of 3 developers to see if anybody is interested in doing that. They might say there's absolutely no interest.
It's,
I got curious as I read his rather extensive write-up of how we do things. And I did a little research on it. Maybe we're already involved in this stuff. But I went on to things like the Maine Economic Development Council and the Southern Maine Economic Development District, small business, all these state resources that are available for funding and grants and education and how-tos and different. We're not the first town that's ever been involved in this. And there's an awful lot of stuff and information that we could access existing that would set us on the, would give us the foundation to do what Howard is suggesting we do. Are we involved
In the,
any of?
are you talking about the flex space thing in
Yeah,
particular?
it's right here.
Yeah.
Right here. See, this is what he's talking about doing things. So I followed through on what he's suggesting, and I found a plethora of resources that should we decide we want to follow this course would help us do it. People, grants, money.
Were you one of the people that put it on the high end?
Yes.
Okay.
yes, there are programs. They're somewhat limited, but there are programs. Probably one of the most effective one is the PBI grant program, the CDBG program, and that's basically for economic development infrastructure. The thing that's important about those kind of grants is you've got to have a fish on the line. Have a fish on the line. It's not speculative. Okay, so it's basically to facilitate the development of a business or a business set of businesses. And I'll give you an example. Kennebunk did it for Independence Park, and their core business was tunneling. That met all of the requirements for low moderate jobbing development. And I worked with Gary on writing that grant. So that was very effective. The only problem was that there wasn't a lot of takers after tunneling. But so that kept it from being speculative. But those programs, that was $400,000 grant. So there are programs like the Maine Development Foundation.
There's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, they're mainly they're research oriented, but there also is Maine Company, which is a site recruiter that's actually done by CMP, and they put out site recruitment filters on a regular basis.
My point was that this forever. There are a lot of resources out there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel if we decide this is something we want to pursue. And if it is, then someone should follow through with interaction with some of these agencies and programs, and bureaus, all of us that help us get the information we need.
And I also say one other thing to compound like Sam and German said. The other term for flex space is also called around here incubator space. And we do have incubator space in town. We have a number of buildings that are used for incubator space, small square footage, 500, 600 square foot startup businesses. We had an incubator space in the old Grange Hall that had 12 office incubator spaces, about 300 square foot each. And unfortunately, there was no market for it at the time.
I would think 300 square foot is so small.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And that's why it was
No
doomed.
wonder.
Can't swing a dead cat there.
No.
It was doomed. And that's why it's a bicycle shop now. So, but we do have some in town right now, and you'll find that up and down Route 1. And basically, they're just utilitarian buildings with spaces in there at a reasonable rent. Sure. Usually utilities included. And, yeah.
So what do you think?
So to kind of summarize what I think you agreed on is that expanding agricultural is important without question. Capitalizing on the trail is important without question. And establishing some sort of public gathering spot is important without question, and that those should be high priorities. And that there is nothing that is standing out as something that you are completely opposed to. Is that a fair statement? Nothing in here that you're very opposed to. It was somewhat surprising to see that the airport didn't pop up very high, given some earlier meetings and the discussion of interest in it. But it did seem to be a fairly low priority with 3 people, which is half the commission. Were you one that put it on the low end?
I did, and again, I want to reiterate
Yeah.
the reason why I put it on the lower end is because of my lack of.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think I'm not against it.
Yeah, all right.
It's beyond my.
I put it on the low end or the middle, I forget which, because I think the chances of moving the city of Biddeford are probably slim to non-existent. It's the kind of thing that I would love to take a crack at. It's kind of like one or two of the other things we talked about where the risk is absolutely minimal to us. We have a couple of meetings, see if anything can be done. It's not like we've got to put a lot of time or effort into it. We don't have to put any money into it. If we could move the town of Biddeford places self-sufficient at present, we probably could generate some FAA money to make improvements. But the reason I put it toward the middle for the low end is because I've tried for a long time to deal with Biddeford and got absolutely nowhere. I don't think the attitude in that town has probably changed much.
And did you have your hand up?
I did. I know Jenny, I can raise her hand at the same time. Just real quickly, I put it on the lower end of things just because, again, lack of control, not being really up to us. You know, we can lobby for it and hope we get somewhere with it. But I agree with everything that John just said, that it's something that may be worthwhile pursuing and put a little time into. I'm not against it, but I just don't feel like we can control much about it.
Thank you. Great.
I made this a personal mission, so I'm not having it on the paper, so that it's
I didn't understand that.
I've taken it on personally myself. I didn't want the group to get involved in it.
Figure one on first.
A little bit of pretty.
All right.
I'm running with it. If I get burnt out, then I get burnt out.
Okay,
And
so
it's
you,
losses, I don't bring it.
just a second, excuse me. So are you the person who put it on the top? Okay.
Just to raise my hand on it.
A regional collaboration, striving for it to be a regional airport rather than just Biddeford City resource.
Just, I sort of second what John said. You have to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And they've been folding it for 20 years successfully. And I think no matter how enthusiastic we might be about regionalizing, it's like pushing this thing. It ain't gonna happen.
And if you're willing to stay, I think we're probably supposed to be leaving about it. If you're willing to stay until 8:30, I think we can get through the 3 orange things and the finance section.
I think we ought to, just my personal opinion, that probably a lot of people won't agree with it. I think we ought to stay tonight until we get through everything we need to. Look at this meeting and being kind of critical of this whole
All right,
process.
so,
I agree with that, and
Okay.
I assumed we would kind of be late tonight with this heavy agenda,
I
so.
told the wife not to expect it.
I don't think you guys need me. Like, I'm 15-year-old birthday party for today. Because tomorrow's August 14th, right?
So going to the last.
thank
Thanks
you
for coming
very
in.
much
Good
for
to meet you.
coming.
Thanks for
So
coming.
I will.
Thank you.
Of course, I'll email you. I'll need access to it. Like, I can't just edit it. I mean, and I don't want to edit it right now. I just want to make suggestions. That's on point.
Well, I'll give you his contact information. He's
Okay.
the gentleman that,
Sounds good. All right.
John made it what it is today.
John
What's
Bitter.
that?
You made it what it is today.
And it's-
From what it was, John,
Massage.
Oh, it's come a long way. I don't know if you looked at it before,
And
like.
in terms of like having somebody who knows how to, do a website, and you are limited to what that server provides for you. So I personally, I don't know, I never touched that. I think that would probably be a waste of money because there's only so much you can do with that setup, and depending on how intuitive it is, I'm sure you've pretty much done what you can, and maybe there's just little tweaks you can do, but.
Well, I've done
Yeah.
kind of what I'm equipped to do.
Right.
I'm not a web designer. I don't know how to write code. I
Yeah.
can do some of the stuff which is, point and click, but
Yeah.
take a look at it. We'll talk.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night. I want to hold the funding because it's going
all right,
to, and knock off some of the other stuff if you're all fine with that.
all right. Have at it. By the way, what happens to the stuff in the middle?
I don't think we need to spend a lot of time talking about the stuff in the middle at this stage.
Was there a big lump in the middle? If the board had pushed one into the other and changing it?
Well,
Can I just ask one question? Where did
the stuff in the middle is the stuff in the middle. I mean, it's not the stuff that the group feels the most strongly.
I was
I
just
didn't know whether
curious
there
where
was a
the
big clump into the.
business development through agriculture, like the ag tourism, where that ended up on those sort of things.
Ag tourism in the middle.
Or did we get a count on that on the high end? Like, wasn't that one of the?
No,
It was
agribusiness.
growing the agriculture.
Agribusiness.
There's agritourism, agribusiness,
Internship.
research and
Agribusiness was
development.
really more towards agricultural businesses.
Internship, development, tourism, and activity.
Business development through agriculture didn't get anything in the positive at all?
No, business development, the
That's what it
agriculture
was.
was the number one one. That was on the, that was on the high side.
Oh, I thought
Actually,
that
what's
was,
the number one?
I thought that was.
Activity.
The tourism was that under category. Yeah. Between expanding an agricultural business and business development through ag-based tourism, those were two different ones.
So which one was the one that's what I'm confused at? Which one was the one that actually ended up in the?
They were, one was 5 and one was 4.
Okay, so agricultural activity expansion and business development through agriculture
Yeah.
both ended up on the high end.
Yes.
And so when you put that in the 3 things that were in the goods,
Yeah.
we've already put it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only one we didn't like in that listing was the internship stuff.
As
Right.
far as the agriculture
Yeah.
is concerned.
Right, and
Potential.
the research and development of this.
Yeah.
So these
Okay.
tourism and activity.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
So, on the end here, the technology promotion and EDC. Those are, seems like the way to maybe address those is, rather than going through one, if we take them one by one, and is there anything about the technology piece that you don't think belongs in Sam?
last paragraph, all this stuff about aquifers and
Mhm.
fracking, pardon my French, bullshit.
Okay, we all okay with taking that out?
Hold on, I'm getting there.
It's on page 14.
But that's in the, why is that in with technology then? That's confusing.
Yes, Howard's whole report was a little,
Well,
I don't understand, because technology to me, I mean, you need enhancements to the Arnold's office equipment, we know that, but what's that got to do with the aquifer?
Howard was damned, he was gonna get it in someplace. We
Are
told
you-
him it was bullshit.
You know what I mean? That's just two different, it's just,
It's stuck in his mind from the day I mentioned it in passing during a phone interview, I was talking about the project, and he has never let go of it, because somehow a resource.
but you're all okay with taking
Told
it
him,
out.
we told
It's
him.
a,
And that's
it's a
why-
liability, it's not a resource, it's a liability.
If you're all okay with it coming out, let's move on.
All right,
Just that last paragraph. you're talking
Oh,
about.
so
Yeah, I mean,
it's-
the town's gonna spend 50 new computers, we know that.
Right, yeah, but, I mean, D-cell, this is gonna be the
Right,
center of
It's
D-cell.
eight, it's after 8 o'clock, let's move on.
All right.
Wow.
Promotion.
Promotion, that's good.
Anyone troubled by anything in here?
He's talking about,
I had a question whether we're going to be better off going from one vote by doing it in collaboration with other people.
Other people or other communities? And you think that,
I mean, I don't see us, I don't see Kenny Bunkport being too interested in going in on an advertising thing to promote ag tourism.
well, the Chamber of Commerce is pretty much working, you know, I guess it would depend, they do advertise together. They've done some stuff in the main biz as a collective, you know, Kimmel, Port Arundel. So I wouldn't totally, if there was any type of promotion, I would think
I
that was
think
the place to
what
start.
I was saying earlier to you guys, I think after this season, you're gonna see a big change. You know, a lot of local shops that didn't make the money this year.
are you talking about retail downtown in the port?
And they're gonna be eager to get all the and do some kind of promotion. A lot of talk about like the bank or the conference, we've been talking about like, they're looking for another Christmas prelude. That's how bad their season was.
I'm feeling much better about my season.
No,
You know,
I'm just
because
saying, when you go downtown to Baymonport and there's open capacity roads in July,
July was a difficult month.
but,
Anyway,
you know what I'm saying? I think they might be
August
asking.
is
so are we
you
saying
guys
that
to
this is done through the Chamber of Commerce and we're open to it, it's a good idea, but
in general, are you open to collaborative attraction activities? Collaborative promotional activities?
Yes.
Without necessarily, he's giving examples, which are kind of like totally obvious and not necessarily all inclusive and helpful.
Right. What, 25 grand?
Well, the whole thing, you got what you paid for.
I think we should obviously expand on that into other arenas of promotion, but I think that there's nothing in there I would take out.
Yeah, I honestly, the whole chamber thing, I think is, I think our connection with the chamber is going to be very important to us.
The chamber wants to collaborate, they want them to be part of the chamber. So I'm sorry, but.
I think our EDC group will promote promotion.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how, right, I don't like what he was saying, but yeah, promotion, but the way he's saying it, maybe not.
Yes, we don't. Yep.
So then you've moved on to the next.
I know, that was speaking to back.
Yes, I heard that. So moving on to the EDC piece, which was on the agenda. You know, we delayed the discussion because it was in here.
Right.
Anything in here that he is recommending that you're not on board with? maybe we take it,
Subcommittees.
establish subcommittees.
The subcommittees, I think, are gonna be vital. Because we cannot do it alone.
So strongly agree,
Strongly.
everybody?
What would like the subcommittee be? You give me an example, so I.
It might be a marketing
Events committee.
Funding committee.
Airport committee.
But breaking,
These committees could be 1, 2 people, 3 people.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever wants to jump in on it and go take that on.
and there might be members of the community that you would
Right, I
for
think
that
so.
purpose
Specific thing that.
alone.
See, I can picture a marketing committee if Donna chooses not to join the EDC, but she would probably be willing to be on the marketing committee.
Let me just talk about that. They're not done. But we are only 6. If this thing starts to ramp up, should we think about adding more? If so, how?
Is
Big
it
talk.
Todd responsible for?
Todd is, but what he'll do is if you make recommendations, that's how Jim made a recommendation for Jen.
That's how I came in, as Jen invited
Right.
me to take an interest.
You know,
And I think you make recommendations to Todd. Todd will accept them the same way that Sam, when you came in, you said I can be on either one of these committees, and he reviewed and said, let's go on EDC.
He's always
well, no, I mean, I would hope our role would be a sort of advice and consent sort of thing, that you would look to us for advice, which is suggested. We think that we need people with these expertise and background, and have it done in some way to be responsive to what we perceive our needs to be,
When you,
rather than rather than just whoever walks through the door and says, "Can I be on the EDC?"
Exactly.
well, who vetted us as individuals?
Well, you were then
Boy, you don't know.
Well, it's really, the question is,
criminal background check.
does Todd make the decision?
Yes.
Okay, and are you saying that you would like the committee to be part of deciding who's added to it?
In this-
Or just give names to
give
Todd. so that they can
suggestions and names,
decide.
and to be able to say, you know, just because Charlie said, I'd like to work on this, you know, he may not be the best person for our needs today.
Right,
I mean, if you look at the bylaws, it talks about the kind of people who might need the background. And
I just want to be sure I'm capturing your thought accurately.
So that's all I
I
was
also
saying.
think it's very important for us to start seeking maybe members of other committees so that we can all be on the same page. Like the planning board, we need somebody, even if they're ex shadow planning board, selectmen. I mean, you know what I mean? Somebody involved from, so everybody knows what's going on.
Well, that's,
He's kind of, in a sense, getting the concept without the specific way of getting it. He's out.
Yeah.
May I
Communications.
add to that?
Mhm.
Also, there's no reason why you couldn't have representatives from those boards come to meetings. No different than the selectmen has their representatives or their liaisons come to various committees. Every single selectman is supposed to be a liaison to a standing committee. You
Yeah.
don't have it. Right? You actually used to be.
Yeah.
Dana.
It was Dana. And there has not been a replacement. There should be a liaison for it. So that way you can get it without sacrificing the space that you might want for somebody
Good point.
who's got a little bit more to offer. So that way you maintain the communication you want to do, but at the same time, don't sacrifice the space that you want for somebody else.
so the liaison role for each of those committees.
But if there is somebody that's not like, at this point, it's safe to say that John's going to be our liaison for the comprehensive plan.
Perfect, it's fine.
But did you say that each select person is supposed to be a liaison to the community?
That's
Back to the
that's
select
what-
board of
yes.
selectmen?
And the question-
Until we left.
So we need to request a liaison.
I would strongly advise it, because you want remember, they're the policymakers. Short of town meeting, they're the policymakers, and they need to be kept up to date and kept into the lifeblood of this organization to not only give credibility, but to keep the interest of this community alive.
Would you say the planning board should have one as well?
Yes.
We need a planning board liaison, but we also.
We have one for the select, you mean from the selectmen, or?
No,
Planning board is
no.
here.
Planning board liaison.
So, board of selectmen, planning board, and the comprehensive.
Jimmy Howard.
But then we need a liaison to the planning board.
Well, if we have somebody that's on the planning board that's also a member of the EDC, that would solve that problem.
That's a lot to ask for someone.
Right now, there's no vacancy.
On what? But there's a vacancy here. We just need to have one of those members, become a member of the EDC.
Somebody,
No,
What? Yeah. Why wouldn't we?
I'm not sure that's sufficient for our needs. I mean, it would fill the seat, but their loyalty is to the planning board, I guess.
It's a
I
regulatory.
think, well, I
Their
think their
loyalties-
loyalty would be to the town, but
You're very idealistic, and that's part of your job.
that's a nice way of saying it.
It's part of your
I'm very
job.
idealistic.
You know, I mean,
That's funny.
Take those rose-colored glasses off, sweetheart.
My other concern is limited with that, the planning board is unique in that, like most other committees, it's a semi-judicial board. They regulate, and they have to make judicial decisions on pending applications. And I'm a little concerned that there might be a conflict of interest.
How come Marty Kane's on the comprehensive planning board committee? Is that a different Marty Kane?
Marty King is not on the
Who's Marty Kane?
Marty Kane before that was listed on the agenda.
Agenda Monday, he wasn't sworn in on Monday?
Yeah, last night.
No, it's not.
It wasn't.
That's what Tom tells me.
Oh, really?
We have it next.
I just saw it on the agenda, haven't seen that.
So, anyways, that's my only concern.
so we need to, at some point, think about a liaison representative from this group to be appointed to the, or whatever the term is, to the planning and zoning.
Strongly encouraging.
what I've done is made notes during this discussion, and I have, the tabulations from this. I'll send out, and I'm not saying we're going to, but I'll send out within the next couple of days, the notes of the discussion for all of you to take a look at and make sure that I represented the conclusions you came to and your ideas accurately. Moving on to that we kind of set aside at the beginning, the fiscal resources and the funding mechanisms. And I know that both Sam and John are very eager to talk about it. Which one of you wants to go first? I'm looking for Joe. John is referred to.
I'm confused. And it may be the verbiage that was used, or he's talking about the need for the town to have a mechanism by which it encourages and supports financial projects that development projects traditionally. I think that's great. Where I'm a little confused is the suggestions he put forward for how to do it. When he talks about for instance, people making investments in an economic development capital fund that's similar to a mutual fund, and that the money is invested, not given, and that it's somehow moved through a charitable organization to invest the money, and that this fund could be set up through any brokerage or mutual fund manager local. I'm confused because it talks about a mutual fund. I'm well aware of donor advised funds. Donor advised funds are something that any one of us can contribute money to a mutual fund that's run, that's invested for us. We can specify through that fund that the money be given to the library or any other 501c. That's fine, but I don't think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, when I read this, I thought they want to put conservation trust. Is that?
That's a charity to which you give money or property, and they use it for the fulfillment of their mission or their trust. If he's talking about a capital development corporation, economic development corporation,
Which he never did come out and
he
say.
never did come out and say that,
But it implies it.
He implies it, and I, again, went through the research on it, and I found out that, yes, these are, as they say, charity through the back door, and you're more than welcome to have this. It's a way by which an organization benefits a charitable class of individuals. And it can be used for economic development, but it's pretty strict as to how it can be used. And it has to be exemption to it has got to be for the relief of the poor and distress, lessening the burden of government, and the promotion of social welfare. Okay, by organizations designed to lessen neighborhood tensions, eliminate prejudice, discrimination, and combat economic community deterioration, etc. Yes, but they're community goals. So if that's what he's talking about, that's fine too. He doesn't say that.
Right.
And it's not an easy hoop to get through. You don't just set it up and say, we're going to now help this cottages thing for instance, so it doesn't work that way.
And it becomes a being with a staff and fixed expenses.
And if you're setting up a mutual fund, as he talks about here, it would be additional to any traditional mutual fund. Well, I looked at setting up mutual funds, and you've got to be prepared to spend $20 grand a month easy on administration and hire somebody to do it. It's a full-time job, and you need at least 20 to 25 million to make it even thinkable. So, yeah, that doesn't work. Then he says second, so I don't understand what he's talking about.
So
The second approach is just a bunch of guys getting together and pooling some money and saying that's the best.
And how did you feel about that?
I think that's dreaming.
You think that's what dreaming?
Dreaming.
Okay,
that's just my.
Yeah, I'd like counterpoint.
Okay,
I'm sorry to have gone for that.
so when it came to all the rules and regulations about support for the community and all that, I took that to me, that was an example of a mutual fund that he was referring to. I didn't take it that was mandatory that X number of dollars that the fund might bring in would have to go through social process. I thought there would be some flexibility there in the way the fund was set up. But I do agree that running a mutual fund is going to be a very expensive proposition and probably not practical. The only other thing I wanted to mention was that he did say that the idea of some of the local guys getting together and throwing some money in, which could use the seed money was probably more along the lines of what a lumber would do. And I would go along with that, but I do kind of agree with you that knocking on doors and asking people to put some money in was probably a long shot. So, but I would just like to say also that if we could come up with some method of doing a certain amount of financing to start up an organization, I think it would really be a big help. But I don't have any real bright ideas about how that ought to be done. I don't think either of the two methods that Howard has proposed are really practical. One has to be done just on too big a scale, and I agree with you that as far as just getting a few local guys together, that's probably not gonna work either. I don't know if there's any happy medium somewhere in between those two. Something that would be less formal or mutual fund, but more organized than just a bunch of local guys.
Linda and then Ted and then Jen.
Well, when I first read it, the first thing that came to my mind is this is one of those
Seven.
things that,
Which might be the most clear, so I picked the category, picked that.
the first thing that I thought of was this could be, if we was to be able to do something like this, it would probably be one of the regional things that's done. It wouldn't make sense for Arundel to try to pull something like this together, but maybe with Kennebunk and Arundel. They
Or
have
Bedford Suffolk.
Well, either way, yeah. Well, I'm just thinking that Kennebunk has their own economic development. What are they proposing? What are they doing? Should we collaborate with them on certain things? And this would be one of them that I thought might be a good collaboration. Let's face it, Kennebunk Port has more money than us, but they don't have the space. It just might make sense to, if something like this could be pulled together, it would be worth it to do it with key towns. That's
What Linda's talking about, the problem is we seem to be blurring lines between government and private agencies here that really concerns me. Because any funding that goes through the town only has one way to go, and that's through the general fund. I'm sorry, that's just accounting for me. That municipal corporation takes money in, the only way place it can go is the general fund, and that's decided upon by first the selectmen and then the voters. In order to funnel money, it's got to be in a private fund of some sort. In order to not pay taxes on it, you're going to have to put it in a 501c3 of some sort, of which Kennebunk has a development corporation that is a bona fide and recognized 501c3.
What does it do?
It gets seed money from the town. They make contributions to it, and then they invest in things like studies and stuff like that. They don't really spend a lot of. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure.
Which is what this is.
Yeah.
They thought, yes, Economic Development Corporation.
Yeah, it's an economic development corporation, and I can't speak to them because I don't really deal with them. I've dealt with their economic development committee before, but I haven't dealt with the corporation. And so I can't answer that honestly. But I haven't seen, they haven't, let's say, they haven't sponsored an industrial or something. I think they sponsor events. I think they might help with some gap financing. They might be doing that. But again, I can't speak for anything about it.
Did Howard talk to Southern Maine Regional Planning Commission?
No.
What, was there some reason why he didn't?
I offered to take it. And he did not feel it was necessary.
No, because he knew it.
Yeah,
I thought,
that's the list, that's the guy.
Ken, one of you guys tell me, and I read this, let's just say that the four guys went with us, okay? What a lot of money are we looking at?
Said it, 25 million.
Well, for a mutual fund.
No, not for a mutual fund, just for, grassroots development.
Let's say it's $1 million.
$1 million.
Which people would contribute.
And then they get a return.
Well, that's what I really get.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
How are they gonna get a return on their investment? It's
It's gotta be
501c3.
really good.
It's gotta be a.
Right, so.
I mean, they could do a revolving
Who's
loan.
gonna put in like $200,000 to
That's the problem.
let it sit there and not get anything back out of it, you know?
I mean, you might be able to get a return on, say, a revolving loan fund, which many development corporations do. And I think you folks have that in England. Did you have a
Sorry,
short-term
yeah,
revolving
No, this
loan
is-
fund or something like that, or a facade improvement fund or something like that?
Well, no, there were a number of economic development agencies, including like Target, which would do, things in the industrial park area.
CEI, yeah, CEI.
That's what they're using to the capital bills.
When I was there, we weren't doing that.
Because they do a lot of minority and women businesses.
What's that?
We do that capital. Part of that's going to
possible.
It's got
If you
to
had to,
There's a Biddeford Saco or Saco Biddeford Economic Development Commission. Yeah.
CEO is possible.
And then the regional, like as the Southern Maine Economic Development District might even have programs. The fact that you talked to them.
I'd just like to ask Howard, what the hell is he talking about?
All right, so
Plain English.
Nobody can say it
But
better than you say
honestly,
it.
oh, wait a minute, but honestly, do any of you, and only because my life, no, honestly think that that can happen here? I mean, that to me is like beyond what we can do right now.
Right, totally.
Yes, I think not, and for the one, I think, like I said, some type of regional thing, maybe.
So let me ask you two questions.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, first question is, if something would have happened, like Jen just mentioned, where you get a bunch of local guys who kick in a few bucks a piece, and this is a relatively informal thing, does it have to be done under a 501c liquor?
well, it could just be a partnership.
Okay,
It could be a
so
partnership,
so
it
it
could be a
becomes a
business.
partnership, so we don't have to get under a 501c.
It's a five-year.
Now, in terms of moving the money, I know you said that it can't be done through a town, because then the money has to go into the town company. Can it be done through something like the chamber? The chamber is not the town.
They could make a direct investment in seed money.
But they're
The seed money,
tax
if there's a
exemption.
developer who's like these guys,
Yeah.
the houses that are seed units, guys looking for money these days, come in and say, here, we're going to seed you some money. We're not the town.
Oh.
We're like him,
Yeah.
right? We're taking an investment. We're looking for a 25% return. We're out of there in 5 years. You can help us with that, we'll give you the money.
So if his suggestion had been to identify angel investors and establish a network to put aspiring new businesses in touch with angel investors, that he didn't in any place do that. But is that something that you think should be added as a financing stream?
It could be, or the economic development says setting up a pooled, the 5 richest guys in town.
Well, that's what I mean.
There's an easy
calling
way.
it.
We call the guy who's doing the performing arts center in 3 months and ask him who his guys are.
Yeah.
Ask for the list.
Yeah, like he's gonna give you that.
Yeah, but an angel, but they're looking for high returns, quick exits.
But I know this sounds like so wonky, but I just have to, my real concern is us as a town not being ready. I mean, I know we all hypothetically say angel investors, but there's a lot of money that's being, I feel, laundered through this area right now, through these backdoor investments, through these charitable funds, Bob's List. There's a lot of people. So I just think that we cannot stop anyone from purchasing anything that's for sale. It's for sale, make your mind. I think it's important that we make sure that they can't develop it. I know, it's just that if we bring in these angel investors, I just think we have to be careful.
What they're,
They might have their own plan.
yeah, what they're,
Because
right.
I'm talking about what's recently happened.
Just be careful who you're getting fed with, is kind of what you're saying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's just the term that they use. It's
No, I
not a
know,
pejorative.
but I'm just saying, they're there.
They're the first people in with the highest risk. And they want the highest
Can I just ask a
reward. They get 1 out of 10, they're doing it.
question at this point? So, let's say we gather this money. They're gonna go towards starting up small businesses and things like that. I mean, what are we doing with this money that we get together?
That's what I'm saying. They're gonna have their own mission, and they're gonna tell you. what
And
to do.
I have to say, I don't feel comfortable setting up somebody with a financial, I don't want to be liable for setting up that type of relationship. I don't think I think that's totally out of our, you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
again, what are we
I don't
setting
wanna
up
go
this-
out and recruit people with money to invest
No,
in Arundel.
I don't think we're doing that. I don't think that's the concept. I think the concept that's being discussed is, can we set up a private, can we help encourage the setting up of a private?
That's one thing, but we're talking about finding angel investors. I don't wanna set people up with investors.
No,
Okay.
I would agree with you.
Okay.
So again, what would this money go towards if we get this magical fund and we had $1 million in it? What are we doing with that money? What's the point of this whole conversation? I don't understand. Take me back to basics.
Guy comes in with a great concept and he says, I really want to do it. We say, man, this would be great. This fits right into our plan. We'll help you fund the feasibility
We'll help
study.
you buy the land.
No,
and-
we'll help you fund the feasibility study.
Oh, that's it. We'll give you
I don't know
like-
what it is. I mean, it's something. We're going to help them in some way with some costs, upfront costs.
I
That's
think
our
so.
investment.
I think it's the kind of thing until a deal would come along, you can't sit here and say we would use it for.
We would help make the dream come closer to reality.
The Economic Development Commission.
Well, the
Group of people.
Arundel Economic Development Fund
the,
or committee or.
Would help
Regional,
potential business owners, business starters, people that would start a business here. We would help them get started in some way, is what you're saying.
Or stay in business. Like the Biddeford Saco one makes loans, business loans in a revolving loan fund. It can be a retention device as well as a development.
That's the corporation.
Yeah.
It's not the city.
Right.
That's the thing that we have to remember, it's not the city.
And that's out of the town meeting stuff, it's totally separate from the town
And
fund.
so basically, if something like this was to take place, it's can't, I mean, we are a town committee. So a separate committee not related to the town would have to be developed to handle that. Sort of like the Kennebunk Port Association has their thing, they could do it. We, basically, this is out of our,
We would set up a corporation that would presumably file for tax exempt status and the 501c3 status. Okay, would it be a separate corporation to which people would give money or?
Or you'd earn money. We actually apply for certain grants. You have a revolving loan fund that you operate out of that. You also maybe get contributions from the individuals and from the municipalities.
And there are typically municipal type sitting on boards.
and I'm just telling you that, I mean, from where I stand personally, I don't want to be a financial advisor. Just saying.
This is pretty far advanced.
That's beyond what I signed up for.
And that's what I was gonna say. I honestly gotta put this, if we were rating this amongst our things to be concerned of right
It would be
now, I
number
gotta
10.
put it way down on 8, 9, or 10.
But
Just
It would be
let-
at 10.
Can I just finish what I was gonna say? Just because I think it's out of reach, it's gonna take something that's gonna take a lot more time and thought than we have right now to get to it. And I think that our time would be better spent on some of the other things that we could actually develop now without money that we need to get from some angel investors. I'm just,
don't fixate on that.
whatever you wanna call them. Raising money to develop business in Arundel, I think it's a far-fetched idea that we're gonna get people to put money into a fund to do that.
I totally agree.
I could be wrong.
May I make a suggestion? None of us know enough about it right now to be able to make a decision. And I would suggest that we at least spend a little time, maybe talking to Howard, if it's a subcommittee to do it, that's fine. Talking to Howard, what are you talking about? B, getting a little more information about what opportunities and avenues are out there. And then come back with a clear, concise explanation of what opportunities are there for us in this funding mechanism.
Are you volunteering to talk to
Yes, I
them?
am.
Yeah,
can't
I'm
do
not
it
saying
too
we,
much.
I'm not saying we take it off the agenda or take it out of the report or anything like that. I'm just saying, I think for tonight, we've already spent more time talking about it than I probably would have, just in the sense that,
What do you think about my recommendation?
oh, that's
I agree.
great, that's fine, yeah. It's,
So
I agree,
Sam,
we've done enough.
Sam's gonna
But
dig into it.
Yeah, but it ain't gonna happen tomorrow, so I'm just saying so.
And I think everybody's cool.
Yeah.
Am I right?
I
Yep.
just think
It's not a priority
huge
for
priority
us.
right now.
You find out more information.
When you're back.
Si, senora.
See, when you leave?
September 1st,
And you're back.
November 2nd.
Sam to call Howard after November 2nd.
I need Todd's okay to do that.
But you're volunteering.
I'll do it before. What the things
Just for the record, when I'm like saying to move on from something, or my suggestion to, not spend much time, I'm not saying it shouldn't ever be something we do. When we have the report, we're gonna have months, years to still try to implement and go through all the things that are in here, and there are things that we can come back in 6 months and try to go through them. But I think one thing really, and I think Sally did a great job today helping us hopefully prioritize a few things that we should focus on immediately, as opposed to, because we do have a limited amount of time. We only meet once a month.
And community resources.
Yeah, and just pick the things we want to focus on and work on those, and then the other things we can say, okay, that's not a bad idea. Who wants to maybe see if there's a viable option development or whatever? I'm not saying to get rid of the whole fiscal resources thing that he did. I just think, honestly, at this point in my brain is fried. It's like over my head to even comprehend what's going on right now with this conversation. And it's just like, I don't know.
Well, I think there's one last tiny piece
You know what I mean?
that we
That's all.
haven't talked about,
Yeah.
which was his follow-on to that financial piece, was the increasing regional cost sharing. And was there anything anybody wanted to weigh in? That is
That's
page
right
four.
after, it's the next, it's on page 3 on the list.
something you report there.
Sharing special services. This economic development did not look at the cost savings of sharing special services, but sufficient utilization of limited fiscal resources would indicate that such should be considered. I think what he's saying is look at sharing services with other towns.
What kind of services?
Could be almost.
We have so much else for cultural ones.
I think it's saying,
It could be almost that.
I know, but you say.
Garbage pickup, is it?
I think that's gonna be a tough sell.
I mean,
Try to convince the people of this town that they ought to turn over the public works department in one plot, or combine it.
Well, I don't think it's that too far-fetched to say
I
that
hate
we
to say
should
this,
have
but you
a,
gotta
we should
turn
have
over
a.
Regional Fire Department. How about
Regional
that?
fire department or regional police force at some point. I mean, this is,
honestly, I was going to say, what's the biggest part of our budget?
School.
Okay,
And you
we're
just turn
already
that over.
in bed with the 2 towns in that department. Why would it be so far-fetched
it's
to
not.
put some of these things together as far as a fire department, police force, and road maintenance and things like that? Could we save money? Would it be worth spending a few grand on a study to see if we could save money by putting together some of those things amongst our towns?
Some towns share ED.
I think if we could do it, I think it would be great. But after seeing what this town went through on the school thing, which in my opinion is so goddamn clear cut, and such an easy decision, and the town can be a split apart on it, I think once you start talking about who's gonna plow the roads and whatever else,
I
pick
hear
up
you.
the garbage.
You got the fire department mafias, and we all have, each town has it.
I think it's like, yeah, these things make sense, but I think there needs to be a little bit more healing time before we can even talk about it.
I think this might go into the category with the funding, where it's a great idea, but maybe let's look at it down the road a bit.
The more I heard about the school budget and how much of our budget was the school budget, it seemed like an obvious thing to me that why wouldn't we try to put some of the other costs of these things together?
The only thing, I agree with you. I don't mean to interrupt, but the
No,
only
that's
thing-
fine, I'm done.
I see where you're going with this, and I understand what John is saying, but I'm thinking that you take 5 years from now, and you're gonna see a big switch. Because if you would have told me that these RRSU things would pass even 3 years ago, I would have said you're full of it. But that's how many new people have moved into Oklahoma. They enjoy their education. They're willing mean? It's a big change, so I agree. I think it's further in the future, but I think it's something that we should try to maybe start popping the idea in.
Having not been paying attention to the school thing, because I live in Bedford and, you know, my stepchildren are all grown up. What exactly, or what was the, in general terms, not exactly, was there a school system here that stood on its own and then
Yeah, like the
became,
Milton Day School is its own school.
Rundle had its own school department?
Yeah,
That we're sitting on the superintendent's office.
right. The big thing amongst the Rundle Lakes was giving
my
up
fourth grade
local
class right here.
control. Giving up local control. Nobody wanted to give up local control, and it's like,
And since the consolidation of the school,
Yeah, it's the withdrawal.
has there been more or less consensus that the education has improved for children?
oh yeah.
It's been
There's
proven.
evidence.
And do people agree? Are they still?
There's some that will,
There was ample evidence before this all came up, Sally, that
The RSU helped.
the RSU. But I don't think anybody's taken a survey since the vote about a year ago, November. And I suspect you're gonna find an awful lot of those people who are hardcore about local control back then are probably still just as hardcore about local control.
Do
But-
those people
but
have
wait, I
children
also-
in the school
It
system?
was an
No.
emotional debate. It
No.
was an emotional debate.
That's the key right there, and that's why I say in 5 years it's gonna be a big difference, because the offset of people that did not have children in that school system, what I feel was the lack wanting the local control stay.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems, the way they set up the RSU committee initially, the people that were making decisions for the RSU, was that they did it by the size of town for how many people were on the committee. So like Arundel only got like 3 people on there, Kennybunk got like, what, 5 or 6 people on
Yeah,
there.
that's the way it is
Yeah.
now.
Right, I understand that, but at the beginning especially, Kennybunk and Kennybunkport were getting together and it felt like, whether they were or not, that Arundel basically had no say in the decisions that were being made because they could be outvoted
That's
by
not
the other towns. I don't, well, that's a
I'm
lot of
sorry,
people
I-
felt
I-
that way.
I'm gonna withdraw because I fought that war very hard last night.
No, that's, I'm not saying it was true. I'm
That's
just
the
saying
perception.
But that's
a lot of-
perception.
And again, like
Not
Howard
true.
says, whether
Not
it's
true.
true or
Howard said
not,
perception
it's
is
about how it's
reality.
perceived. And that's, you know, so anyway, that's how a lot of people
And that's
felt. And
why
I know
I
that
say-
scared me initially, that we would just get voted down by the other towns all the time, you know, that was scary for me.
And that's why I say in 5 years with the new development of newer people coming through,
Yeah.
you'll have a different outlook as far as regionalization.
I mean, it would appear as if they're both playing nice together and working together. And
I would agree with
What do you think is going to be different, just out of interest? What will be different? Just
Honestly?
Yes, please.
I think that you'll have an influx of higher income people living with demanding a higher education. Then having that value, finding that travel over an hour on a bus is not going to go. And would want to, or driving her child 40 minutes to school is not a big incentive. And I would say in probably 10 years you'll be fighting to keep your school here in
That's good.
Hanover.
they're gonna be
Right.
doing it.
I think,
But I mean,
okay.
that's just the thing,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just,
More importantly, I think timing is all wounds, and people who have moved on from the battle. They're
Some
gonna see how
died.
successful the RSU is, and, you know, maybe our neighbors aren't so bad. But
I make the motion to consider and close this meeting.
Yeah.
I would,
I second
that.
I would just like to mention before we close the meeting, we did have a problem with taglines on the agenda for tonight. And that's a biggie.
I don't
He's never
think,
updated.
I
Where
don't
does
think
it
the
stand?
taglines really could be considered as thoughtfully before as they can be now.
Yeah, no, I agree, I'm just saying before
But
we
we-
adjourn the meeting, we should have
Can we
it on
put it on the
agenda.
next meeting's agenda? It's a,
Yeah.
It's not an urgent, do you think it's an urgent item?
No,
So last night was,
So I
I see,
would agree
yeah.
with Sally, we have more clarity now, we can really focus on.
and
some of the
perhaps
things.
the notes from your discussion tonight, once everyone agrees with the content of them, would be helpful for Howard.
Did he ever respond to our,
I was going to watch the thing.
all of your
we all said
comments.
that they're worthless and
Oh,
they're junk and they're, you know.
Well, I just thought it was lame dust, he accused us of looking at them together.
Cold-hearted.
Yes, he did
Yeah,
say
he
that.
did.
He did not do anything substantive, he said, well, I'll go on another set, or I will produce a new.
Yeah, he highlighted some that he thought we should use.
But honestly, I mean, we got
Is
some
the
other things.
camera off yet? Camera off yet? It's still on.
But we haven't adjourned the meeting yet.
I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Yes, I second.
I was just gonna say, first we should table the
Okay.
taglines to the next meeting. All in favor of tabling that?
All right.
And that, just before we adjourn, I'd just like to, Sally, thank you very much for all the work you obviously put into doing that. That
You're
was, the way you structured that was awesome. I
Yeah.
really thought it was a huge help to prioritize things.
Yeah, it seems
That was awesome.
rigid at the beginning, but it does move things along.
No,
Not just the
that went
structure,
pretty
but the way
quickly,
you did the
the way you
1
did
to
it.
10 and all, I mean, I thought it was great, so.
Thank you.
Yes,
Job well
thank
done
you.
and thank you very much.
One question, if I may, what are we gonna do with that information, what would that tower?
Well, I think after we agree on it, and you and Todd have it, that it might be helpful for Howard, who's still not completely done, right?
No, he is lower.
So I would suggest to the group that we share that with Howard, because I would think he'd want your reaction to what he's done
Oh, I
so
agree with
far.
you.
And it's not gonna be very lengthy, you know, it doesn't have to be a 15-page.
We don't have to
Rebuttal.
justify it.
All right, all in favor of adjourning this? Let's do it. Closed. Boom.
Shut it.
Yep. That's good.
So, Howard,